gamers, did you stack up on some snacks? Maybe some drinks? Because I know my deskers and I did. At least, I think they did. Did you guys get any new additions to the desk to bring for this upcoming series, or are we still
Why does he
holding
throw
on?
these things on us last second?
Actually, I had a supply of water, but then our casters came in and made me chug it all, so now I don't have any water.
I got my Jolly bottle. I got my Jolly bottle filled with water because I haven't been drinking it so far.
Sticking to the tried and true. It's okay. I think cold opens are the best way to break back into it, because if we go for the standard polish, then it's like, nah. You get to see the humanity, the people behind the IGNs.
Our
and the
flaws.
gamer tag. Yeah,
Very obvious on a cold open.
But we do have AOE taking on Maryville University, as we hinted before we went back into the draft, or getting into this game one. And a couple of things that we wanted to talk about and look at is this Group C standings. As we've said it before, 100 Thieves next. Whatever the outcome is against Glaive in their series off stream, Maryville University and AOE, this series, this is playing for playoff lives here. They will be granted one of the other seed spots, and then if for some reason, if we need further tiebreakers to determine first and second seed, then we'll let you know. But the point is, Maryville and AOE, they are playing so that they can continue playing in this tournament here. And one of the things as we were looking at the mid lane matchup, I think Rebel was getting super excited before we came back to live here.
I was getting appropriately exciting about this mid lane because it is an absolute...
Appropriately?
It's an absolute bongo combination between these two, because on one side you have Darkwings, who's like, everybody knows him as like the winner of the 1v1 competition, stepped into like amateur competitive on just last season when he was on Zeus, and was a beast for Zeus the majority of the season, and has a bunch of that, like, in that background, just how talented a player, but actually converted into competitive play, I think, excruciatingly quick. But you can still see those instances of that one-on-one. And on the opposite side, Spyrax, who stepped onto the Maryville roster right in the midst of like that the national championship, and had a few times where it was like he had stumbles out of the gate a little bit, but it's really come into his own as a superstar out of the mid lane.
Yeah, we got a first-hand account of how well Spyrax played, especially on stage. I mean, I think you two were able to really capture the best moments of Spyrax in Maryville University's dominating win throughout that Gateway Legends Collegiate Invitational. Not a single game dropped in that whole tournament run there, Jolly.
The whole tournament run, and the rise is what I was touching on, and basically that's one that Spyrax is just not able to get anymore. I'm way too good on that one. What was that?
I taught him that.
Oh, you taught him that. All right, okay. So all credit goes to Rebel Fox then. I want to see a 1v1 between the two of them. But and specifically looking at AOE, I guess we've got a new player, kind of we touched on with Zyko. But there are some connections here. I did a little bit of digging and found that, Zyko has played with some big names, Five Fire, but also Julian when they were on Supernova Sentinels. And Julian, as we know, now is the head coach of Maryville University. So there's kind of a little rivalry going on there, or maybe a little bit of a friendly encounter if they have a good relationship. I don't really know on that. That wasn't in Leaguepedia, actually. But Zyko has also played with Darkwings back when Dawn Esports Blaze, probably one of those names that people have kind of forgotten about. So there's at least a lot of familiarity. It has Zyko is a new player now in 2021. This was back in 2019. I'm talking about with the Sentinels and with Blaze Esports. So a little bit of time out of the scene, but hop back in, and yes, does the job really well, but given the little amount of time that he's been back into this scene and with this team, has actually been providing a lot for that bottom lane.
Yeah, this the bottom lane is something that we didn't get a chance to really touch on in the series when we were going over between Kangas and Joshi, but this is a bottom lane for AOE I want to look at first, because Sketch Streams and then the previous support was Fizzy for that roster, who we also did get a chance to see at the Gateway Legends Collegiate Invitational, playing for, I think it was IWU, if I'm not mistaken there.
He had the best stream of the tournament.
The Lost hot tub stream
Yep.
at the Hilton, man. What legendary stuff from
Every night, I think.
from his. Did he do it every night?
I
Man,
think he did it
I
every
think
night.
every night after they got knocked out. Yeah.
Every night.
Oh my
Incredible.
god! So
What a
much
way to-
content that we
what a
missed
way to
out
take
on.
it, though, you know?
But for this new support coming in, Zyko pairing with Sketch Streams, I think one of the things looking at AOE, Sketch Streams has always been an 80 carry that in team fights really gets to show a lot of their prowess. But in terms of being set up for it is where really AOE seems to struggle. And when we look at AOE's record throughout the entire summer split so far, me included, was one of the we're looking to project this team as a powerhouse, one of the at least top 5 going into the summer split for Proving Grounds. They come out first in their Challengers Uprising group, but don't get past quarters. They get out first in their group in Risen. They don't get past quarters again. So whereas you look at Maryville University, they didn't do so hot in Challengers Uprising, but then they had the surge through Risen, through the Gateway Legends Collegiate Invitational. So both of these teams not only are pretty much evenly matched here, but I really want to look at this AOE team and ask you, Rebel, what seems to be plaguing them from being able to get through that playoff berth?
That's kind of a tough one. In fairness, they pulled some pretty tough first-round opponents in the initial tournament, which is Challengers Uprising. They pulled their sister team, and of all the teams, especially in your initial opening tournament to pull, the one that's going to have the most scouting information on you is your sister team. So,
True.
like, there is that to start with. And then in the second tournament, I believe they pulled EGP, who unfortunately, they pulled second because they were behind, I think, Wildcard in their group, and ended up having to play off against them immediately within that tournament, which was a little bit difficult. I don't think that was exactly correct. But I do believe they played off against EJP or Wildcard Red in the opening, which again are 2 of the other teams that we're considering in the top 5. So you have that component to it of being a top team, where I feel like this is a roster that has talent loaded all the way down. They're still figuring out, I think, a little bit here and there, pieces like Zyko coming in obviously as being something new, and they're still trying to get their ducks in a row, I guess is the best way to put it, before they end up really making the run trying to take down teams to make sure that they can qualify for Proving Grounds, but they're not quite at that level yet.
I feel like there's so many connections across this team. It's as though there's like a thread sewn throughout all of them. They all have connections to each other somehow, but it hasn't quite been tightened and pulled together. You know what I mean? They need to figure out how to tighten and really clean it up. I mean, you've got Faisal, who, even though they're a young player, I mean, Sketch Dreams has basically played with Faisal on like every single team that they've been on. So there's that connection. You've got RBM was on Zeus with Dark Wings as well, and and I mean, still plays for Michigan State, but you've got I've got all these arrows like pointing at each other of this team in terms of their connection. So I do think that as time goes on, that cohesion will come through. They're just working out the best way to clean up their playstyle.
So a lack of a cohesive identity or that has been locked in for this roster, because you're absolutely correct, Jolly. The amount of chemistry that should already be built in between some of these members because of just prior team experience. And it's not like, we're looking at a roster that was just put together, a week ago. They've now had the past 2 months, playing together on this roster. But the fact that, greater success has eluded them this entire summer split, despite putting up impressive records and numbers, at least during the group stage, is kind of a head scratcher. And I think that is the only kind of answer that we have. Obviously, we would also like to get a chance to maybe talk to some of the AOE members behind the scenes, because we don't obviously know everything that is going on while they're not playing on stream or off stream, and we can't gather everything from just from game scores, right? But it does seem that way. There's sometimes a game plan will work, but then the inconsistency seems to plague them in terms of being able to always execute that vision that they have in their head. Now, going up against Maryville University, this was a roster that, until Julian came into the coaching staff, the players didn't really feel completely unlocked to their full potential. But, Rebel, from what we learned talking to Julian about the event, what is it about him that the players so much just enjoy better, and that they feel like Julian has been able to really bring out the best in this roster.
I think it is the individual level type kind of considerations, where it's like when you go back through a game, you could talk about how the team is supposed to interact, or how everybody's individual component can work towards like a successful goal. So it's like, okay, how did this, affect this, and this domino effect affect the whole team? Instead, it's a lot more focused on, okay, what did you do wrong here? What happened in this fight that specifically went through? And that kind of cleanup, I think, is stuff that's like Julian does very well, because he's been on teams before in a lot of competitive senses, still maintains challenger. I think he was ranked 1 or ranked 2 at one point. I'm pretty sure he was ranked 1 at one point, or at least very close to it. So they're all, he's an incredible player, and I think that is the one difference maker that he has over a lot of coaches and a lot of other situations, is that he's able to have that individual minute suggestion for all of these players to help their individual play, which certainly has been assisting them, because that individual play really has kind of stuck out as the main difference between what Maryville looked like 3 months ago and what they look like now.
Yeah, this Maryville University roster, the surge and the momentum could potentially be on their side today, but AOE also, as Jolly pointed out, that this is the makings of a really good roster. We just need to see if they can carry through, and if they go through with their prior Tier 2 tournament results, they should be able to take it to Maryville University, and we'll be seeing how all this plays out. As Kangas and Joshi are on standby, ready to make the first call for the first game of the series.
All right, thank you so much, Rafa. Welcome, everybody. I'm Kangas, joined by Joshi. Rebel, just want to say you're welcome for making you chug that water before going live on the analyst desk. Hydration is important, and also I'm definitely stealing your look right now. Joshi, what is going on with your outfit, though?
Look, I just gotta say, I had to get all the duckies coming in, going in to try and match Rafa, because while I'm looking like a bath time, he's looking like a whole-ass picnic, not just a snack over there. So it's a good time going on all across the desk. We're trying to copy, just do a little bit of what the analyst desk is doing. So we're looking pretty good so far. We're going to be jumping right into Champion Select, so you don't have to listen to us talk about our nonsense outfits for the rest of the day.
I want everyone to know I was going to wear a button-up, but as soon as I saw Rebel, I was like, I can't not do it now. But you're right. We are in the pick and ban now for Maryville versus AOE Esports. Joshi, the winner of this series, moves on into playoffs and can continue their run. And like the desk was talking about, these two teams have shown the ability to make it out first in their group in the past. AOE doing it twice, Maryville doing it once, but a little more recently having better success making it all the way to third in Risen. This should be a pretty close match ahead of us, and I'm still not quite sure who I'm favoring here, but a lot of that will come down to the draft, so let's catch up on that currently. Maryville on the blue side, taking away the Thresh, Viego, and Renekton. AOE on the red, taking away Xinjiao, Ziggs. There we go. It's a very popular band that we saw from last week, and the Diana.
I think the big thing that we got to pay attention to is, like, both these guys have already gone 1 and 2 up against 100 Thieves, right? So it's worth noting that because of the tiebreakers, starting with the head-to-head, 100 Thieves gets first out of the group no matter what, but these guys are playing for second and for those all-important Proving Grounds qualifying points. Man, that's a whole mouthful right there.
It's a lot to get out. And now we will also have a third place match, and that can affect points. And then also because we know based on how the rest of Cloud9 Amateur versus Wildcard, there's a chance if only one of them make it in, then third place would be the one to get that auto qualification spot. So there's a lot on the line here. If you can make it out, there's a good chance that you still can make that run for the auto qualification. But let's see how they do it. Maryville lock in the Aurelia first pick. Surprised to see that's still up here. It's seen a lot of priority, especially as Blue won.
It makes a lot of sense, right? Some people have been questioning, is this really a buff or is it just a placebo change? And sometimes that placebo change is enough. It is going to get picked up for Maryville, and we know this can flex between the top lane and the mid lane between Chippies and Spyrax, whereas on the other side, we've seen Set kind of have a lot of success up against Irelia since she doesn't have the same kind of shield destruction that she did when she was first reworked. And of course, Gwen, very flexible. I like what both these teams are doing so far, especially after seeing the effect that all these champions had in our first series today.
We just saw the Set beat the Aurelia in Game 2 of that last match, where we saw Speedo get the better of that matchup. But the Gwen 2 means that we don't know if that will be the Set top lane, but we know it's not going to be Set support because Braum is locked in here. Zyko did play this last week, one of the champions that we got to see him on stream with, and he actually looked pretty good on it. We weren't quite sure where to power rank Zyko compared to other supports coming into this because we haven't seen a lot of his recent play, but I actually thought he looked pretty good last week.
I did too, right? It's one of the things where you have to look at him as somebody that you haven't had a lot to judge him on, and typically when I see that, I just assume they're not going to necessarily make a big impact, but he looked solid. He looked like he was holding his own against some of the better supports, but as Rebel Fox said during the break before we necessarily got on camera, just being able to do your job is not necessarily going to be enough against somebody like Shady, who we definitely have ranked as one of the best supports in Amateur.
And he's on the Leona too, so champion that can do very well in lane, but can also roam around, link up with junglers, help them out, go to the mid lane, help out there as well. So Maryville ban away Sejuani and Tristana. AOE ban away the Callista and the Ashe, focusing on that bot side, and they see one big key 80 carry up. It's not going to be worth a Thresh, but it will be Aphelios with the Braum.
And the Swain coming out for Azog. We've seen this a couple of times. He's definitely played it in the UPL, the Unified Premier League, where Maryville has been splitting time between the Tier 2 events and the Tier 3 events, and it looks really good so far. Just being able to bring these mages down to the bottom lane really threatens some of these mid to long range 80 carries like the Aphelios, because it's the exact range you want to be able to hit with that Never Move. You grab that, and then it's an easy setup for Leona.
And there's also AP on the team on the bottom side, so this opens up their draft to go for the Jace. So they're going to have AD in the entire top half of the map right here. A little bit of true damage sprinkled in there too. But the Jace matchup is interesting for me because I don't see it as a big counter into the Gwen in particular. And there's still a chance that it's a Gwen going into the top lane, and then the set in the mid lane. There's Graves locked in here for RBM, a champion that he's known for as well. So that means let's see, where does Gwen go? Where does Set go?
I mean, doesn't really matter, right? You just throw them around in a couple different places. Both these teams are here to fight, right? That's what you're seeing with all the champions that they've already picked up. We're not going to get any long-term scaling things, even though that's what Aphelios loves to do. These teams are ready to brawl, and you know, we talked a lot about XU, or we didn't talk about it, we watched people talk a lot about XU's Lee Sin during the first series. Odd Orange made a name for himself when he was younger, before he was allowed to play for any of these teams, as a Lee Sin streamer. He's got a long history with this champion, and if XU can do it, Odd Orange is going to be looking to echo it once again.
Yeah, there's a lot that Odd Orange can do on this pick for these different lanes. If you get a Jace ahead, that feels amazing. Jace can really take control of any lane state. And also you can play around an Aurelia who can set you up for those ganks as well with that little bit of CC, even on that bot side too. So Odd Orange, multiple lanes to try and play through here, but I'm happy that you highlighted fighting. That's what we expect to see with these two team compositions. And what a beautiful graphic right here. I love this new updated setup.
Yeah, it's very red on the Maryville side, very fitting with their logo, but the other thing that I want to pay attention to on this side is, again, this bottom lane is very lethal coming out from the Swain and Leona. It doesn't even need to necessarily wait for level 6. You just do so much burst damage with your combo that's really going to put Sketchstreams and Zyko to the test. As a Braum main, you should know this, that when the Never Move comes through, you can throw it forward and then it just doesn't go any further, right? You don't get the pullback at all, but if you miss that, you can throw it behind you, and it'll only hit you as the target, and it'll end up saving Aphelios.
Joshi, you got baited again. Everybody thinks I'm a Braum main, given the cosplay.
It's a Bard main.
I'm a Bard main, man. You know this. I do love Braum, though. I just kind of suck at him. But you're right. That interaction does, in fact, exist in League of Legends, as well as many others that we'll get to see here as both teams have loaded onto Summoner's Rift. Maryville University. Ooh. Collegiate representative here in EGL over on the blue side, and AOE on the red. AOE already going for a very early play right here. Does Chippy's fall for it? He's not going to. I like these, though, when you go for the Braum level 1s.
Yeah, he saw it coming through. They knew what was going on, so Chippy's didn't get caught because he was hiding in the top side brush. It's definitely an interesting development of the meta where people are starting to go into these lanes really aggressively, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of fruit necessarily coming from it, so it ends up just being a lot of posturing to try and get something, and I have to respect it at the end of the day.
Yeah, you might as well go for it, right? Also got the new, hey, me and Rebel are matching Braum right now. We got the pool party skins on. Love to see it. But going back to that bot lane conversation you had talked about, if we expect this to be favored in Maryville University's side, what does that mean for the game state? Does that mean RBM needs to be thinking about, hey, I got to protect bot side? Does Orange get pulled down there? How does this affect everything else on the map if we expect this to be an overall skirmish-heavy style of game?
Well, I think the biggest thing that's going to have to do is it's going to be looking at a lot more teleports coming through from Darkwings and Phasal during this entire series, right? Because you're noticing Gwens have started taking Ghost instead of Ignite recently. They have a little bit more extended trading power rather than like the burst that Ignite provides, and it does mean that you can stay head-to-head with all the damage that Swain is going to be doing, and if Azog and Shady go too far forward in this lane, it'll give a great opportunity for this Gwen to teleport down.
Bot side here. Sketchstreams and Zyko actually getting decent amount of damage onto Azog and Shady right there. Before level 2, can be kind of difficult for the Leona to play against the Braum. He does have that slight range advantage, and the passive is a little bit better, but even as I say that, he is starting to take some trades back. That's Electrocute onto him. Now we'll have to keep our eyes on bottom side, because so far it's actually looking a little AoE favored right now.
It should start that way, right? Swain doesn't necessarily have the combo that makes him dangerous yet. You need both the E, the W, and the Q in order to really get some good damage down. So when we start seeing level 3, we're going to start seeing this transition to a different lane. Azog actually not hitting level 2 at the same time as Shady. That might have an impact later on, unlikely, but the extra stats that'll happen when Zyko and Sketchstreams hit level 3 might give them a bit of an edge. I want to turn our attention, though, Kangas, to the top side of the map, where we are seeing the fighting potential starting to come through. Chippies is going to be backing away after crashing a wave into the turret. He will likely come back with an extra, going for the tier instead of a Doran's item. He's not going to have the same kind of extra combat stats, but it is still an opportunity for him to have that little bit of extra gold and extra corrupting potion stack for these upcoming skirmishes.
Helps him stay in lane a little bit longer, and also helps him get towards that 2-item power spike a little faster. So because of this, we can expect, I don't know, maybe another minute, 2 minutes faster acceleration towards that Muramana stacking. But Auto Orange does get the top scuttle. Really big meme going towards the bottom. This leaves a small window for Auto Orange to actually be ahead of the jungle clear. Postures towards the mid lane. Not going to find Darkwings, though. So early on, we're not seeing a lot of action between any of these junglers, any of these teams. But even as I say, that really big meme is starting to path towards bot side as they're duking it out. Zyko doesn't have the shield. That could be a bait here. Shady might want to go in now.
True, RBM is here. This would be a very dangerous spot, and you're noticing that Azog and Shady are going to be backing away, and now they are going to be spotting RBM. He gets most of his Krug scam.
Fine, though. Shady doesn't want to go in on top of him. And yeah, RBM, he gets a couple of those camps. Auto Orange will show up and clear the rest of it, but Shady loses half his health bar for that, too.
I think that's a pretty good trade here for AoE, right? You know, Sun Tzu said in The Art of War, every basket of rice that you take from your opponents is worth 2 of your own. Actual quote. Like, trust me, you can look that one up. That's this thing where taking half of your opponent's Krug camp is effectively taking your own entire Krug's camp, right? Because you're denying all of those, bits of golden experience from your opponent. So even though RBM doesn't get the whole thing, it's still going to be half a Krug camp that Auto Orange isn't going to be playing with. And it's not a big lead, but it's not nothing.
Now mid lane, Spyrex in 1v1 against Darkwings. He might go for this one. Getting a lot of damage out, has a Conqueror procs, and Darkwings has to retreat. Not going to blow Flash, so Summoner Spell's still saved, but Spyrex has pushed Darkwings out of lane. He'll get help with the shove for Auto Orange right as Dragon comes up. I don't think they can actually turn this into an objective, though, because bot lane is going for a reset.
Bot lane is hurting. There's no teleports down here. We didn't see how Swain had to use the heal, or at least I didn't, because it is big that they're not going to have that power for an upcoming Dragon fight. Instead, Auto Orange turns his attention towards the top half of the map, where we've kind of been expecting, we've kind of been setting up in our discussions a little bit more fighting, but they haven't gone for it just quite yet, and it's resulting in this small lead coming in for AoE, as the mid lane in particular had a gold lead, had a CS lead, and should be able to continue to build that as he now comes back with his skill caps.
Yeah, finishes the boots. Darkwings will now catch this wave as it crashes into turret. Underneath the turret, no plates even going over to Spearex. So let's see what Spearex goes for. Gets a Vamp Scepter, gets some boots. Will he TP back into lane, though? No, not technically. There is still one slot open right now. I don't get a Rejuve beat or something, put a slot in there.
But the Vamp Scepter, Kangas, he's got it. He's got all the sustain, so suddenly Irelia becomes so much more dangerous in this lane. But I like this, too. As we look towards the top lane, Chippies slow pushing this wave. It is a big wave. And Auto Orange potentially looking for a dive, but instead,
and Spyrex
going
sent
to be
TP.
back away.
Spyrex walked all the way to land, so he actually could TP to the top side. We could get a 3-man dive up here. Darkwings realizes this, and he's already walking up here. There's the teleport. Faisal ghosts away and is out just fine. Dive will not come through here for Maryville. They do push Faisal off, and we'll get some plates, but immediate answer from AOE is jump on the dragon.
True, but look at how much this Gwen is missing. That's like 3 full waves that Faisal can't walk up for, and it's going to be an extra plate or 2. So this Mountain Dragon, the most effective of just like the dragons on their own because of all the extra armor and Amara gives, but look at this brutal situation that Faisal finds himself in. He has to get in, and he's just taking so much damage to even just get these caster minions.
He made it! He made it, Joshi! Faisal got past the wall, got past the bouncer. He's like, come on, man, I have tickets. Let me back into top lane right here, I swear.
Yeah, kind of feeling like having a fake ID, though, with how much like scrutiny he was under that entire time. So he's going to have to try and do something to recover, because that's a big experience difference, a big gold difference, and Chippy's now has the serrated dirt to try and go up against the steel caps, and I think we still are waiting for this big fight to happen.
Sketch Stream's level 6. Azog's gonna go for it, but Really Big Meme is here. The turnaround, easy enough. Shady's taking so much damage, and first blood over to Sketch Dreams. AOE Esports fully prepared for that fight, but Azog's going for more. 1v3, are you kidding me? Azog gets the turnaround kill.
Oh, that's the Swain, baby, just going in, doing so much damage, having all the sustain, and it looked so good for AoE, but Spirix was on the way down. They couldn't really stay. Now they see in mid lane, they might be able to push in the wave, but this back and forth fighting is what we're expecting. The difference, though, here is AoE don't need to wait for the ultimates to come back up, whereas Azog absolutely will need to. So as we take a look at this again, notice how important, like as soon as Azog hit level 6, Shady threw out the Zenith Blade looking for this fight. They knew they wanted to go for this, and they have a lot of damage, and that's why, you know, it's crazy, right? You think of Leona as super tanky, but when you have as much sustain as the Swain does in this kind of fight, you can't actually hit him, and he has the confidence to know that with all these low health members, they can't stick around, stay in range, and because of the short range of the guns that Aphelios had and Graves, Azog can just walk up on in and find a counter kill.
Nicely played from the Swain, getting a kill. Now Lost Chapter in that lane, not going to be struggling for mana, but as we come back to the live, we see Maryville, we're able to pick up that Rift Herald on Orange, making sure that he is still using his time wisely while Really Big Meme was on the bottom side. Reset went to the top side. So now we'll have to see where do they want to use that Herald. Top side already is down to 2 plates, so that will be the turret cracking if they drop it top.
I think you do want to take it up here, right? You want to crack this turret. You want to get all that money into Chippy's Jace. He's already shown that he can do it very effectively, and he's starting to posture very aggressively up against Faisal. It is an opportunity
Really
to give
Big
him so much
here.
gold. Oh no,
Not
the mismatch.
spotted. Chippies could be in trouble. Flashes early. Wise to do so. He will stay alive. Gets out safely. And he does have Odd Orange nearby to back him up if Faisal and Really Big Meme get too aggressive right now. Faisal's walking forward. You got to be careful here, Gwen. It's a trap if you go for it. Chippy's getting some good damage, and we'll just walk back to lane. All right, so no scraps, no fights happening either way. But I'm still looking at that Herald thinking Odd Orange could just walk up and drop it.
Absolutely. I mean, Faisal's going to be walking away here. Doesn't have to teleport. There's not a dragon for another 2 minutes, so it's an opportunity to get a lot of gold, but instead going to be hanging on to it. Remember, you can use it as a distraction when one of these turrets can be threatened at the same time as a dragon. So remember, the other big thing, we really want to have an opportunity to back at the 40-second mark or earlier, right? If you do it after that, you're not going to get to the dragon on time. So you got about 30-40 seconds in order to get it back in.
He's heading towards the bot side right now. 1.5 minutes until that spawns, so he's here a little early as Spyrex does take a pretty rough trade against Darkwings right there. Really Big Meme looking for a potential gank bot side. Spotted out, not going to find it. Azog and Shady back away, and Azog does have that ultimate available, so I don't even know if you want to go for a gank on this lane, but Darkwings all inning into mid lane right now. Spyrex in a lot of trouble. I don't know. Kicked over the wall, following Spyrex. He doesn't get the kill. Spyrex survives through it with the Conqueror stacks. Almost the betrayal from Odd Orange, but MU do pick up the kill.
That's crazy. Odd Orange and Spyrex barely working together properly. They gave me a heart attack at the end of that little bit of a fight, and we'll see why as we go through the replay. Because it starts off, you know, pretty standard. We saw this matchup earlier up in the top lane, but as we start getting members a little bit lower and the Haymaker starts up, Odd Orange almost kicks him in, but doesn't quite get the true damage part of it, so Spyrex barely stays alive. And I told you, full build, he's got the Vamp Scepter, stays alive with just a sliver of health.
Yeah, plus that Conqueror stacked up. That is a decent amount of life steal. especially once you have your passive stacked as well. Darkwing so close to that kill, doesn't find it up bot side. Oh no, Shady just blown up immediately. Chippy's top side also in some trouble here. Fies don't really beat me, both on top of him. Lot of orange, too late for the play. Not going to save his top laner. Azog does survive in the bot side 1v2. And actually gets flash about both Zygo and Sketch Dreams. Azog, when he has ult, he can straight up just 1v2 them. Kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, we saw a lot of that at the end, right? Because Shady basically just died, but it does come at a crucial time. The Rift Herald is getting dropped in the mid lane, and the Dragon is available at the same time. So this is a distraction we were talking about, and instead of giving the gold over to Chippies, because he's currently dead, they're going to be giving it over to Spyrax in the mid lane. Take a big chunk off the turret, and it will give Maryville the first move on this Dragon. But we can pay attention again. Remember, Chippies had to use his flash earlier, isn't going to be able to get out of this, and unlike a lot of top laners, doesn't have a way to get over the wall. Has to go for a fight, but gets run down by the Ghost coming in from Gwen. Not really going to have an opportunity to escape, and ends up just giving over that kill to the top lane that he was dominating previously.
Yeah, opted to try and get some damage onto RBM rather than running to Odd Orange, his Lee Sin that maybe could have helped him out there. So, at the end of that, he does fall in the top lane. Again, bot side, that's another kill over to Sketch Dreams. This Aphelios now 2-1. Coming online here as Odd Orange getting aggressive on this blue buff, invading on the bottom side, but there's really no one here to punish him, even as I say that the Darkwing's in the area. Smite away, blue buff stolen.
Good stuff coming out from Odd Orange, right? Staying very even with this Graves, despite the fact that Graves is typically a much faster farmer. And that's going to be really helpful for Odd Orange as we start going into the rest of this game, as he starts getting towards level 11 and continues to power spike as this Lee Sin with the Gore Drinker. He's going to have a lot more freedom to navigate through all these different parts of the fight. So really like what Odd Orange has been doing so far in terms of his ability to roam around the map, but hasn't necessarily been able to convert a whole lot of it into advantages yet.
And we're just dead even right now, Joshi. Dragon each team, kills pretty much even, but the gold is definitely even right now. Before this game, before this series, we were talking to the desk, and I was saying, no matter what happens, I'm expecting it to be close. I don't think we're going to get stomps either way like we did before, as Shady throws down the ultimate instant cleanse from Sketch Streams. But yeah, we're seeing that right now. It's a very close game, number one, right now. Both of these teams have made it out of groups in past Tier 2 tournaments. Both of these teams have taken games off of 100 Thieves Next, who will be first in this group. And they're both threats. I mean, one of them has to make it out, and we were talking about it. Whichever one makes it out will be a dark horse in the round of 8.
Oh, Isaac getting jumped on.
He is getting jumped on right now there. They're chaining the CC. He's not healing up fast enough. Sketch Dreams has the damage and picks up the kill. 3-1 on Aphelios. Says Odd Orange almost falls down, flashes away from Darkwings. But now Spyrax could be in some trouble. No, it's Darkwings. Really big game. Doing nothing to help. He didn't have the smoke screen up. Spyrax just solo killing Darkwings in this mini 1v1.
This is the difference that you end up getting when you go for an Eclipse style build as the Graves. You don't necessarily have the same kind of consistent damage as you otherwise would with like a Gale Force style of build. Instead, you're going to get this burst, and Spyrax has an 80% damage reduction on his W when he presses it, so it's really hard for RBM to do anything. Odd Orange is going to try and push around for this Dragon.
He got it! He stole it! Yeah, I mean, Spyrax is also right there. I'm surprised Spyrax stayed in the mid lane. I thought that he would just walk up and push really big beam off of that red buff.
Yeah,
that's true. He's got fate.
We'll watch this again. I wanted to talk about the Swain, but we might have an opportunity to look at that a little bit later. Odd Orange just starts it off with the kick and is just going to be getting over the wall with the help of his opponent, right? Because Darkwing separates the fight and RBM can't participate in this fight nearly as much. You're noticing that Spyrax just gets a 1v1 after Set has already used up all of their cooldowns because he used them all on Lee Sin, and it becomes an easy fight for Irelia, who's just a major auto attacker and can continuously bring the Set down lower.
Yeah, awkward showstopper there from Darkwings, actually saving Odd Orange, who otherwise would have had to flash over that wall, unless his E came off cooldown. But tail end of that play, it is still Dragons going over to Maryville. Here we go. All right, the 2v1.
Right. The point I wanted to make here was the difference between Swain ever since the item rework versus what he used to do beforehand, right? Typically, as the Swain before Season 11, you would have the Rod of Ages and you'd be relatively tanky. We'll get back to that as Faisal getting jumped on.
And the top lane, pushed back by Chippies. Shady, not quite sure if he wants to go in here. Odd Orange as well. They get the Solar Flare. Under turret, Odd Orange will pick up the kill. Slight hesitation from MU, but they do pick it up.
I was worried I was going to have to start seeing single ladies or something, right? If you want to commit to the fight, like, commit to it. They weren't sure if they wanted to go for it, and eventually Shady's like, yeah, we're doing this. Gonna put a ring on it, take down Faisal, and gonna be earning themselves most of the second-tier turret, if not the entire thing. But now, you know, where's AOE?
In some
they
trouble
gotta
right
be
here. Rom stacks immediately stacked up. Plus the ultimate glacial fissure. Spyrex ults back in. He's lifestealing a lot. He almost takes out Sketch Streams. Oh, Aurelia is a fair and balanced champion, everybody.
True.
But does go down at the end of the day.
It will end up going down in the 1v3, but it does mean that somebody, in this case Shady, gets you something. Oh, not quite going to catch Zyko as he backs away. Sketchstream's going to walk out, but this is big. Remember what we said, 40 seconds.
Oh, he goes for it and misses the Zenith Blade over the wall. He didn't even have follow-up there. I don't know if you even take that.
I think he 1v1'd him, right? Leona does so much damage. But yeah, I mean, we see Spyrex coming in through here. He gets a lot of damage reduction, but unfortunately does the cardinal sin of flashing in a straight line. Ends up getting hit by the Braum ultimate, and it does mean that you have a little bit more freedom from the red team in order to just back away and potentially be at the dragon first, but instead they stick around and clean up some Krugs, and now it's actually Maryville who has first move to the dragon.
Wow, Maryville also with a 1,500 gold lead. A lot of that coming from those turrets that they've taken. 3 already. They even got a tier 2 topside. They have been putting in work up there. Chippy's on the Jace. And now stacking up these dragons too. Maryville putting themselves in a pretty comfortable position in this current game. We talked about the lack of scaling from both teams' compositions other than that of Felios. That's why I'm looking at Maryville. Like, if you're going to say a team is playing on a timer, it would most likely be them. They do have the, I guess, the Swain and the Aurelia, which are fantastic in late game team fights, but it's just so scary when you're looking at an Aphelios later on, especially one that's 3-1. So, yeah, they're even accelerating this game even more right now, trying to take a 4th turret for their time.
This is really big. They're getting all of these structures down, right? The fact that Jace got the entire tier 2 top turret is big. That's an extra, like, 600 gold that he's getting for himself.
Azog, Gravitum, under turret, pops the ultimate. They're diving. Zyko will tank up here.
Oh.
Actually, it's got streams. Now Shady looking to turn it back around. Spyrex teleported in. Now TP from Chippies. Can Maryville find the re-engage?
They find it.
They're going for it. They got it. Zyko and Sketchstreams out of the fight already, just blown up. Flash from Chippies.
Wow.
They don't want really big meme to go anywhere. A double kill to Odd Origin. Maryville looking pretty dominant right now.
That's the tempo checkmate that we're always looking at. You have time to do whatever you want on the map. They were already threatening to crash the Rift Hold on the bottom side. They got the first hit on the bot lane turret, and so you know that their opponents have to try and do something. AoE gotta try and make a play in the mid lane, and it comes through, but it's so desperate. There's teleports coming in from both sides because it allows you to cut the travel time down by 80%. Both Chippies and Spyrex able to get here. Zyko and Sketchstreams are too far forward, and RBM and Darkwings just have to run, and you only have to ask, what does Maryville do with the time afterwards? Are they able to get another turret off of it?
Didn't go for one. There's still only 4 turrets on their side. Looks like they might have even gone for resets there. Got some vision down as well. Shallow into AoE's jungle, and now AoE back on the map again. Aphelios has 2 items completed, but he needs people in front of him. He needs some form of heal. Zyko alone was not enough. You need your Darkwings, your Set to also be there. Imagine Set's there to showstopper Aurelia away as she's trying to go in. Sketchstreams could have continued to pop off in that fight, so I want to look at the positioning from this AD carry, positioning from Sketchstreams as this game continues on, because he really will be the primary win condition for this squad, along with Faisal.
Yeah, but you got like very different terms of what you're trying to do, right? Sketchstreams is going to be the big DPS source that can chew through everybody on Maryville if he's not focused down, whereas Faisal is going to be the one that's going to be very aggressive. Unfortunately, you don't have the same kind of freedom as this Gwen to dive into a backline, because what is that backline? Swain? Swain's going to be able to tank up all of your damage. You got to instead just turn it on the front line and help Sketchstreams out through this entire thing by creating this big zone where Maryville have to try and hit you instead of actually hitting the Aphelios.
Or alternatively, put some side pressure on. Try and get people to come to you in a side lane here. We know that Gwen's very strong in those situations. It's just tough because Chippy's, hey, he went for that tier early on, that first back, and now he's already got that fully stacked right now. 21 minutes into the game. This Jace is going to be hitting hard, which makes it even harder for Faisal to do much right now in this current game state here. Baron's on the table. Teams could look to start going for that, but it's also a minute 30 until the next Dragon. It appears like that's what Maryville is setting up for right now, is they're just getting all this vision down on the bottom side river and kind of choking out AoE's entrance points.
They can also look to start threatening towards this Baron, right? Because even though they don't have an AD carry, they still have both Irelia and Jace, you know, two very strong auto attackers, so they can do this at a reasonable speed. I'm a little bit surprised they're not opting to siege at all, with the fact that they do have both the Jace and a couple of exciting pick tools in the Swain and Leona, if anybody from AoE stepped too far forward. But instead, you know, they're playing it a little bit more calmly. The game might go a little bit longer. Oh no, he went forward.
Faisal's going in. He wants it onto Chippies, misses the ultimate. Gonna keep chasing him down, but Chippies, man, he packs a punch right now. That's just 2 Qs onto Faisal, and he has to back off. Chippies definitely winning that 1v1.
Faisal doesn't actually hit any of his ultimates there. Maybe he got the first one, but after that wasn't able to get any more damage, and oh no, Chippies is going to stop him.
Okay, he's going to get over this wall. That Zenith Blade was so close. Darkwing's in a 1v1 now topside against Spyrax, and we already know he doesn't win these, but with a little bit of backup, maybe he can! They turn it! Psycho gets the kill, Spyrax goes down.
Little help from my friends, that's all it's going to take. AoE now in dominant position to start going for this. You know that there are so many members of Maryville on the opposite side of the map. It takes you about 15 to 19 seconds in order to take down this Baron, and it takes a lot longer than that for Maryville to walk over. They tried to start the Dragon, but they didn't expect this, and this is going to be AoE picking up a clean and free Baron Nashor.
No response from Maryville. They even back off the Dragon. Now they'll go back onto it saying, okay, I guess we get this as the trade. But the tempo lead here for AoE is pretty big. They get the Baron and they reset back onto the map. They're going to start pushing already as soon as that Dragon goes down. Let's get a replay, though, of this play topside that set it all up.
The biggest thing here is we know Darkwings isn't necessarily going to win this on his own, but Set takes so much time that allows friends to come. But the big thing that we got to note at the same time is because they stopped Faisal's back with both Lee Sin and the Leona, it means that there's a lot of members of Maryville down in the bottom side. And AoE, we already saw the results of what they did, but I just got to give them props for recognizing what everything meant in terms of the map positioning coming out from the other side. And it's going to be a free Baron, and we got to see what they're able to do with it, because this is their moment to actually start taking down a bunch of these structures and start narrowing this gold lead.
Starting the siege now onto the mid-outer. They've only taken 1 turret so far to 5 from MU, and they're actually not hard committing to this one. Instead, making sure that Darkwings can safely get that top turret. RBM's kind of hovering in between in the river. And now we'll head back towards the mid lane here. So maybe on this next wave, they'll actually commit to that one. But already 1 turret falls with that Baron buff. AoE, they're not really going for a massive push with this, though. They're still playing a little reserved.
They don't have a lot of wave clear or like a lot of long range champions that can easily hit these structures, so if they want to do anything, they have to do it in force. And I think they're a little bit hesitant to go for some of these team fights up against the Swain, who now has a stopwatch completed, only has 1 AP threat to deal with, and the Zonia is going to be getting a lot of extra value during all of these team fights. So AoE a little bit hesitant, not getting as much off of this, but they still have a minute of the Baron buff that they can try and do something with, but chilling the enemy jungle is unfortunately meaning you're not in a lane. You're not going to be able to crash any of these waves as effectively as you would have otherwise.
Baron buff about halfway through here for AoE. They got 2 turrets so far, and Maryville have staunched the bleeding as of now. They're catching these waves, even pushed out topside. Spyrax got that whole wave shoved. And still, the gold's relatively even between these two teams. We only have a 1,000 lead right now for Maryville, despite the fact that Baron went down over to AoE. And that Dragon Soul fight will be massive. If you're AoE, you can't just keep giving these over and trading for other objectives. You will eventually need to answer them on that. And that'll be in about 2 minutes, 45 seconds. That means both teams going to be looking to set up as much as they can until then. And wow, I'm looking at that bottom side, the gold differential between Azog and Sketchstreams. That was about a 3K right there, Joji.
Unsurprising, honestly, considering how effective Sketchstreams has been so far. He's got a big CS lead. He's got a bunch of the kills from the interactions previously based on how Shady was playing, and This Aphelios, we always knew was going to be a threat, but Sketchstreams now, we saw last time that you and I casted them that Sketchstreams had some really, really good fights as Tristana, and then a couple others where he kind of phoned it in and wasn't necessarily as effective as we were hoping to be. So I'm hoping that we get the version of Sketchstreams that is going to bring this game back so we have more League of Legends to watch, rather than the one that just goes too far forward and gets caught by all the dive potential coming out from Maryville.
Nice thing is he went for the full team fight crit-based Aphelios build, so he won't even be able to Gale Force in this time, Joshi. I think we're in a pretty safe position with sketch streams currently. I also want to bring attention right now. Shady has a very strange build. I'm just going to call it that, because you already highlighted the fact there's only one AP threat on the other team. So going for the Abyssal Mask, you're amplifying the damage from, I guess, yourself and the Swain. But the magic resist isn't putting in that much work, so I'm actually, well, I'm not the biggest fan.
Remember, Abyssal Mask isn't quite what it sounds like you might think it is, right? It's no longer the AOE magic resistance reduction. It's every time you crowd control somebody, they take increased percentage damage. So everything he does, right, because he's got the ultimate, the E, and the Q, is going to increase it. And it's kind of like, in Anathema's Chains, right, where Anathema's Chains increases the crowd control against a target, Abyssal Mask is going to increase the damage against them. So it does have opportunities. If you recognize that AoE is predominantly just an Aphelios threat team, it can be really valuable to just get that extra like 10% damage against them.
You can maybe show that off right here if he can get onto really big meme, but Zyka was nearby, so Maryville do not pull the trigger right there. But we could actually see a fight here 30 seconds before Dragon spawns. If they get this pick onto Zyka, that'd be big, but that's a Braum. He's got the shield. Teleport coming in right now from Darkwings. That's the set. That's the frontliner. Gets rooted right away. Boom. No engage coming in from either of these teams. They're just dancing around this Dragon that will spawn in 20 seconds.
AoE has the choke point under their control. Maryville will have to walk through this, and while they do have a lot of poke, as we already see, RBM having to dash away, they end up giving it up, and now the Dragon spawning in just a couple of seconds. It's Maryville. They're going to be taking control of the geography, where Sketchstreams might be on the wrong side of the choke, and might have to walk back through it in order to re-enter the fight. Beautiful scouting.
Oh my goodness, Chippy's hits like a truck. I love this build too with the Cyrildas, because if you hit, that's a slow, and then Azog can follow up with his own W. So it actually helps set up even more poke to follow that up. Darkwing's around the other side of this Dragon Pit right now. He could be in some trouble. Takes a blast.
Oh, he's over.
Now in 1v1 against Odd Orange. Spirax can't get over the wall, so he's got to walk all the way around, but Sketchstream takes a huge chunk of damage. Shady just chasing him down, but gets blown up. Sketchstream's still alive, but he's limping away. The rest of his team will have to finish up the fight, and that means that Maryville can just shred through the remaining members. AoE without Sketchstreams cannot fight that, and that is Dragon Soul over to Maryville.
Ocean Soul coming through for Maryville. Huge opportunities here for everything that they're doing. Suddenly, these fights that we already said might be good for the Swain as they go along are going to be even better. And not only that, they're going to be in prime position to pick up this Baron buff. There's only the Aphelios and the Graves to come in. And unfortunately, they're both AD carries. This is on RBM to try and steal. There's no way they can fight this.
He can look for it. He's got the collateral. No, he doesn't actually. He's just going to go for the Krugs.
He is
collateral. That's just Baron. All right, Baron's over. Maryville University, they got it. They got Dragon Soul and Baron off of the one team fight, and now with a 4K gold lead, it's going to be really difficult for AoE to do anything from this state.
I really want to point out how Shady plays this last team fight as they go in, because remember, he does increased damage with it, and look at how much damage the Q does from Chippy when it's got the extra crowd control on it. He doesn't even need to kill the Aphelios, he just needs to get him out of the fight, because the rest of the members of AoE do not do enough damage to try and turn this fight around. There's too much coming through from the rest of Maryville, and just giving over his own life in order to make sure that Aphelios is not a threat in the fight, absolutely huge, and wins them not only the Ocean Soul but also the Baron.
Now Maryville poised to take this game here, Joshi. Chippies with 4 items completed. This NA Jace is popping off right now.
Let's go. What's Jace?
what was well, I guess this is an NA Collegiate Jace, so maybe that's a different thing now. Niles just like this one too. Spirax just goes in and just takes out Sketchstreams himself.
Oh, okay, but that's not it. On the other side of the map, there's also a death going down. Chippy's dies off on the side to RBM and Faisal, but because they're not there, we're getting the turret
Darkwing's
dead.
going for the engage. Zyko's here to back him up, but it's basically a 2v3 right now. Darkwing's, you don't do enough damage for this, buddy. Zyko's like, what do I do? I'm just trying to auto-attack as a prob. Now I'm getting engaged on. Azog picks up that kill. Faisal teleport flanks. Can he find the engage? Azog no longer has the ultimate. Swain's not as big of a threat, but Auto Orange healing up off of these minions. That will be a middle inhibitor falling. AoE did not find the engage that they were looking for off of Darkwings. They might go for it here, Joshi. They're taking a little bit of damage. They do have to back off Faisal. He reset. Now he's going back in here. Shady, got to be careful here. Azog as well. Auto Orange jumps back in, but that was not the correct play. He's taking a lot for himself. Faisal's still alive. Faisal's down. Auto Orange looking to run away, but he will fall as well. Multiple kills, multiple shutdowns over to AoE. Gold in their pocket, but they do still lose that middle inhibitor.
All right, well, we're going to see how Chippy's actually dies in this. Oh, he does see Graves there, but by the time he realizes it's a little bit too late. Gwen, so strong. As long as you stand in that circle, you take absolutely no damage from anybody. And yeah, they are able to pick it up, but it's a trade. Because you have members in the bottom lane, they can't get back here. It takes 8 seconds to back, and then another 10 to get here. That's 20 seconds of a full 3v2 going in favor of Maryville. So they are able to win this. They are able to push back the members of AOE, and they get the inhibitor for it, and they try and go for the end. If the Xenoblade had landed, it might have been enough, but they don't, and then Gwen's ultimate takes over. We get to see how strong this champion is. As long as you have your circle, nobody can touch you. Stay out of my safe space. I'm just going to hit you, and you can't do anything about it.
Azog tried his best to turn this one back around, but yeah, once Swain doesn't have that ultimate available anymore, not quite as big of a threat. Can actually get blown up in these fights. So hey, good on AoE to defend, keep themselves in this game, but they're still 4,000, actually now closer to 3,000 behind Dragon Soul for Maryville. And that's going to be Baron and Elder coming up in about 2.5 minutes. Shady looks for the engage over the wall, not going to find it though. So that's Solar Flare on cooldown for another 40 seconds.
There's also a minute left before Sketch Dreams gets his flashback, so there is a potential opportunity here where Shady should have his ultimate, but Sketch Dreams will not have the flash, so we might just see a very aggressive play if Maryville are correctly timing the summoner spells, but instead, going to be sieging a little bit, and remember, they're the ones with the Ocean Soul. If you get hit by any poke coming out from AoE, well, you can heal just by hitting your opponent, so throw out a skill shot.
Yeah, I mean, really the only poke you're worried about anyway is Aphelios, maybe a little bit of Graves poke if you can hit those Qs or an ult, but it will be healed up right away also, even with their builds completed. 4 items also on Spyrex, 3 items on Auto Orange, not quite 3 on Azog yet. He is kind of trailing behind right now. Speaking of, Sketch Streams has pretty massive items, but he also takes a lot of damage.
He does. He's pretty squishy. He doesn't have like a shield bow or anything, and unfortunately, there's not a whole lot that the rest of his team can do about it. They don't have any heals, and he just has to walk back every time he takes a Jace shock blast to the face. And so this is kind of coming up against the wall. They have to try to do something, and they get 3 roots.
Oh, what a massive engage there from Sketch Streams. Can the rest of AoE follow up? They're diving onto the back like Darkwing's there, but Azog flashes forward, doesn't take down Sketch Streams. Can Auto Orange find him? The Lee Sin going for the hero play. He's down! Sketch Streams outplays him, and AOE Esports win the fight. Back to the wall. You cannot doubt this team.
This is huge. This is coming up right before the Elder Dragon is on the table. So, with both members of Maryville dead, with Auto Orange, Spyrex, and Azog down, and only Faisal down for the count, this is an opportunity for them to try and play for Elder Dragon, and everything that Maryville has done up to this point is now in jeopardy. Chippies and Shady have to defend this upcoming fight, so there's a big opportunity here for AoE to try and do something as we get some big damage coming out from Chippies. They can stall the RBM. He's a jungler. He's going to heal pretty quickly.
Chippies can just keep throwing them out, though. That's the crazy thing about Jace, although there's a smoke screen slow. Shady in trouble here, has the flash, might have to use it. Shotgate does get him to safety.
10 seconds for
Chippies
Spyrex.
and Shady are back out now. Teleport is available on Spyrex if they want to go for it. He will have his ultimate, but there's Elder Dragon. Shady goes over the wall. He's just trying to spot it out, but he's dead. That's Dragon. That is Elder over to AOE Esports. Maryville were not able to deter them, and that is a massive tempo swing, massive objective swing, rather, over to AOE.
Wow, gold lead is now dead even once again. AOE has evened it back up after a couple of huge defenses of their base, and Maryville not able to just quite close it. The Ocean Soul is strong, but it's not quite as strong as an Elder Dragon buff. Now they're going to have to see if they can pick something off here, if they can pick up this Baron, because they're the ones on the back foot out of nowhere.
Odd Orange is over here. He's not spotted. He's got the ward on it. He's in.
Not gonna get
No,
it.
doesn't find it. Immediately has to flash out of the pit. It was a valiant attempt. I'll give it to you, Odd Orange, but not meant to be. That is Elder and Baron on AoE.
So the Elder Dragon will run out before the Baron will. We still have 2 minutes 45 on the Baron, and you only have 2 minutes and 30 on the Elder Dragon to start with. So you're already running through a good 40% of it by now. You have a minute and a half left in order to try and do something with it. So AoE do have opportunities to be very aggressive, but Maryville has everybody back online, and they still have the Ocean Soul. So as long as they don't get engaged upon, they should be able to weather the storm.
Can they hold the siege? There is a push from AoE on the mid lane right now. 4 members grouped up as Faisal pushes bottom lane here with 4 items on Gwen. And yeah, Maryville, they're going to have to just lose as little as they can. They cannot fight against Baron and Elder. Wait out the Elder. Just give over inhibitors. But with this kind of push, wow, they are taking these objectives fast. AoE, they might even look for the end right now. They only have 4, though. Faisal's still not with them. So if Maryville's going to go for a fight, now is the time. Darkwing's looking for a flank right now. We're going to get a full 95 under the Nexus turret. Darkwing goes for the engage. Sketch Streams hasn't gotten off a lot of shots yet, but there we go. Now the Dragon's starting to come into play. The turrets are already going down, and that's just going to be team fight 1 already. Sketch Streams pretty much untouched in that fight, and AOE Esports mount the comeback. Triple kill to Sketch Dreams. They don't get the ace, but they will get the game.
Whoa, what a crazy game, King, because we knew the series was going to be close, but I wasn't expecting it to go Ocean Soul to one team to Elder Dragon to the other after a miracle series of defenses coming out from AoE. This is really strong amateur League of Legends coming out between these two teams. We knew this group was going to be one of the groups of death because of how close everybody was going to be, and it is already proving it right here, right now, as we see who's going to get out.
Yeah, we were talking about the scaling of both teams, who could win the later team fights, and that Aphelios got to a point where he wasn't actually touched very much in the later fights. Odd Orange was doing his best to get on him at that fight below the bottom inhibitor turret, but they just couldn't kill Aphelios, and from that point forward, I mean, once Set's in front of you, once Brahm's in front of you, even the Grave smokescreen, it is kind of hard to get on Aphelios with that composition, and hey, we saw some good, clean team fight out of AOE Esports. And it was off of a comeback. Chippies was so strong throughout that entire game. That was absolutely ridiculous. So we're going to send it over to a short break right now, everybody, before we're back with the analyst us and break down exactly what happened in that game number 1 while we get ready for game number 2. So you're not going to want to miss it. We'll be right back after this.
Quack, quack, quack.
Well. So, originally we were coming to the segment, and we had an entire thing planned for talking about how Maryville took a very well-thought-out, cohesive early game, but then we just threw that out the window because AOE randoms, my goodness, they stalled the game long enough, and they found that one window, and they took the fight under the bot inhibitor tower, they get Elder Dragon, and then boom, bada bing. It is, I guess, that simple. So honestly, much credit to AOE for being able to find the one needle in the haystack that they needed, and essentially wait out a composition that, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Rebel. I know you were kind of being so close to the Maryville boys. You had a lot of things to say in the last 5 to 10 minutes of that game there.
My biggest problem that happened, and it's something I was like super disappointed to see, was it felt like it's their game to lose because they've got this advantage. They've got Ocean Soul. They've got all this resource. They've got powerful champions for all the intents and purposes, capable of winning the game 100%. They just could not get a fight to stick in their favor. If they were like poking away, they were not patient. They weren't like, okay, let's let Swain and Jace do a bunch of the work. They were like, let's get Orange or let's get Shady in the back line and let's try to force immediately. And they're not using that tool of like, okay, we've got range against everybody on the opposite team and trying to put those two pieces together. It felt like there was a bunch of individual mistakes that also came through where it's like Shady went too far, Spyrax would go too far, somebody would get caught out in a side lane, and it just like trudged this game to a slow, like, hubble pulse, and it waited and it gave this opportunity over to the side of AOE. And it's Maryville's, it's just like you know how to win this game 9 times out of 10. Why is it like that this game is the one that you decide to just like make all these kind of like boneheaded mistakes is the best thing I can call it.
Yeah, you know, they did win the early game. We can give them that. All right, they used the composition of the draft at least in their favor for the beginning, but you're absolutely right. It certainly felt, especially I think the really big point where it was like, you know, hand to face for me was with the Elder Dragon spawn, and they decided to continue to put pressure on the base, and I mean it just absolutely gave away that Elder Dragon and gave a lot more pressure and gave Aphelios the ability to just completely wipe the enemy team.
Yeah, and we have to look at the cataclysmic fight that AOE was able to find victory in and came out through against all odds, as this fight happened so fast for us watching on the desk that, you know, being able to understand how this really broke down, because what you were talking about, Rebel, is the kind of the target selection, the priority, people kind of not being on the same page. It is a complete contrast to the earlier fights that Maryville University had taken, where the Solar Flare in combination with Chippy's long-range poke on the Jace, being able to snipe out Sketchdreams from the beginning of the fight, not allowing him to be able to participate. The fact that Sketchdreams actually gets to fight in that, and we talked about how damn good he is in team fights when it comes to the late game situation. Even this composition that Maryville was able to build up plays well into a short range composition between Aphelios and Graves being the only 2 marksmen who are, you know, both below the 550 range, if I'm not mistaken, without Green Gun, of course. Then Swain gets to live his best life, but not on the same page there. AOE are a great enough team to recognize that once the opportunity presents itself and the mistake is made by Maryville University, they take that lead and they punish and they accelerate the game back into their own victory despite not having Ocean Soul. So if we're going into this game too, AOE now have the advantage of the series score. You know, does this really change the momentum here for Maryville University, or you know, do AOE even necessarily need to change anything up, because considering that Maryville had a majority of the lead in this game 1?
I gotta say, honestly, you know, I have confidence that Maryville can take the early game again. Their compositions tend to go for that. But I also have confidence that AOE can absolutely pick up on any of those balls that are dropped by Maryville. And just based on the fact that, you know, you've got Azog in the bottom who had that Swain, if you can get a lot more push, if you can get an earlier amount of pressure there from Sketchdreams, AOE absolutely has it in them to make this a 2-0 sweep in their favor.
I feel like walking out of that game as Maryville is like it feels like poison. You have a lot to fix because it's like there's a bunch of stuff that's fine, but you know how sour that taste has to feel, where it's like it feels great coming out of a game and being like, okay, we were in command and control the entire time. We messed up at the end. Here are the things we can fix for the earlier stage, because there were clearly things like even when they were doing well, they like even lost like a 3,000-4,000 gold lead around fights and things like that just shouldn't have ever happened. Giving away that Baron buff was not something that would help them throughout the mid game and things of that sort. But this is all stuff that's I feel like is like pretty quick fix. It's like these are kind of dumb mistakes that you will not make a second time. It's clear that they have like really solid individual talent. Their team fighting looked good from time to time, but now you've got this backlash of we're down a game. If we make that mistake again, if we make any mistakes, all of a sudden do you like fall down this like trip line of are we just done? Like if we make a mistake again, or AOE just gonna put us out of the tournament immediately? And that fear, for some it's really positive because it'll make sure that you're playing like at absolute peak performance. For others, it's crippling. It can hurt you. And I know Maryville has been able to put that up or shut up in really high tense situations before, so I have belief that they're not going to crumble here. But still, that presence is going to be felt.
It's a clean it up, boys kind of situation for sure. Like, you guys know what you did wrong. You all know what you did wrong. You all know where you made mistakes because you all did.
I'm not
clean
mad, just disappointed.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Clean it back up, all right? No, not as many loose ends out there.
Yeah. Whereas when you're looking for AOE Esports, even though this is a game that, we might argue that this was Maryville's game to lose, not necessarily AOE's game to win. AOE get the advantage of now being one up in the series. They just got to take one more to get the W and then advance on to the quarterfinals, and that in enough is a huge relief. And they've already identified, some of the issues that plagued them in this game one. They knew they walk away from this game knowing kind of the structure of how this composition was built and how it answered their short-range issues, and being able to actually deal with the poke and engage onto the team. So going into this next draft phase, I think AOE is going to be coming in with more answers, understanding what Maryville wants to play for, as you already pointed out, Jolly. So this kind of makes this game 2 even more interesting, because now there's this conundrum of like, okay, Maryville, do they really know how to play going into game 2? Because AOE might pull things under the rug and shake things up going into this next draft phase. But, before we get further into talking about this series, I do want to kind of break away from Group C and actually talk about Group D real quick, as we do have matches occurring off-stream. Unfortunately, we don't have access to the links to those matches being played out. But at the moment, Zeus is about to play, or starting playing, against AOE Randoms. Now, to give you kind of the sitch for this Group D, Supernova did 2-0 Dignitas Mirage. And so, what this means is that Supernova and AOE Randoms are in contention for the second seed. If AOE Randoms were to win a single game, if they win a single game against Zeus, and even if they lose like a 1-2, because they have the head-to-head over Supernova and then the better map score, they would be the second seed advancing with Zeus. So, in that series, AOE Randoms just have to win one game against Zeus in order to qualify, even if they lose the series. So Supernova, they are hoping, they are praying that Zeus is not taking any mercy on the Randoms so that they can go for tiebreaker for that second seed. Because then that's what would have to play out if Zeus were to 2-0 AOE Randoms, which I don't believe we'll be covering on tonight's stream, but that would be very interesting, as in that series, Supernova actually pulled out Lilia jungle a couple times, which Rebel is shaking his head. Man, dude, here's my thing about Lilia jungle, Rebel, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but like Lilia, when that champion first came into play, even though I appreciate it in terms of jungle diversity, I don't have fun playing against that champion. And so seeing it back in meta, if I don't think it is meta, but it's just like Maddie Moo's comfort pick of choice. We've seen Lawrence and RBM, they have Graves. For Maddie, it's Bambi, man.
I don't know. It feels like Shaco to me, where it's like the interaction with that champion is just so painful on both sides. Where like I don't have fun playing it. I don't know a bunch of people that are like, yeah, Lily is really fun to play, and then also it's insufferable to play against too. So I don't know. I don't know how Maddie is like comfortable on that. Obviously, strong enough to use in certain situations because Maddie's willing to bring it out if it's his pocket pick. But like, not something I would want to see, or at least not something I would want to play.
I also have something to bring up too here because we have a little bit of a ride. Red side wins completely today. All 4 matches that we have seen have been red side wins. So if things go according to this trend, then AOE are on the right side of this pick right now. Assuming that, Maryville picks red side going to the next one if we do get to a game 3. So if that trend stays, then yeah, that might be a little bit of an advantage for AOE.
100% red side win so far. Is that, what does this indicate about the meta, my fellow desk analysts? Is there too many OP picks? It seems like we don't have enough bans anymore, and that kind of luxury, if we were to say that to all of the players that have been playing League since Season 1, they might hit us back with back in my day, we only had 3 bans. And you guys are spoiled with 5 bans each, and you still say that's not enough, but sometimes it still feels like it's true. You've got Viego, you got Xin, you've got the Enchanter sometimes. Lee Sin comes up into the conversation as well. Nocturne, Gwen. I mean, like, guys, so many things to prioritize, and in a kind of refocusing back onto this Maryville and AOE series, it is. I think one of the things that has to be considered going into this next game is, especially for the early game, is having a good jungler in your hands for that early agency. Xin Zhao was taken off the table, and we saw how much work Odd Orange was able to do with that Lee Sin. Not to take anything away from Graves, but as we saw in our Cloud9 Amateur series, the way that the Graves picks work is when you are able to have lanes that can facilitate it and get it off the ground early. Otherwise, Graves, you're kind of scaling. You are power farming until you can get online to that point in the game. And Jolly, when we're talking about this Graves pick for RBM, even though AoE came out with the win, we also know that he has played Lee Sin in the past during the spring split of Proving Grounds.
Yeah, so that is going to be the champion of highest contention here for sure, because both of these teams very much focus on getting the top side, as we specifically saw in the last game, the top side and the jungle, as really we've seen in this last meta, and all day today focus for these champions and these players. And you've also got, Azog, who is kind of running these mages a little bit more self-sufficient because they tend to have a little bit more tank and survivability there. And then you've got the other side, so of Sweet Dreams and Psycho, of just kind of, they're resilient. They can maintain themselves down in that bottom lane. So Lee Sin, that's the one good thing to blue side, right? Is at least you're going to get that first pick. That was the case with Maryville, but it didn't lead them to victory.
I'm of firm belief this game that, especially, there's a few things that could be fixed for Maryville. There's a lot of individual stuff. One of the biggest things I took note of is bot lane was under lock and key from the side of AoE. They smashed that laning phase. It was terrifying to think because it was an Aphelios versus like a Swain and a Leona, and they were beating that lane hard. And I don't know whether it was uncomfort with the Swain inside of the laning phase. Maybe they haven't practiced it in competitive a bunch. Maybe it's just like scrims and it's the first time they've tried it. But it was very clear that like the Swain doesn't have the same effect that Ziggs does, where you can just like perma shove waves. You don't have that safety to sit in lane on your own. So neither Shady was allowed to break out, and also the lane wasn't powerful enough, at least after like some of the early trading, to really win out on its own. So I'd like to see Maryville go back to having their bot lane have that support, either with a mage that's safe enough for Shady to go affect the map as much as he could, so he's not just like lassoed to bot lane in potentially a bad situation, or go to something that's lane dominant to try to shut down Sketch Streams and Zyko in that bottom side. I think that would give a world of opportunities that were not there in game number 1.
If there's any bot laners that would be capable of pulling out control mages, Azog is the player to do it. If you've been following this guy in collegiate since his time on Granville University before coming over to Maryville University, or even watching some of his semi-pro and amateur play back on Frostfire Scouting Ground Circuit 2020, Nico bottom lane specialist, even before all the other kids were doing it and bringing mages to the table. Between that and Jinx were his 2 comfort picks. But Kangas and Joshi are ready on standby, and as we'll see whether Maryville University are able to bounce back or if AOE will clean this out in a 2-0 over their opponents. Kangas and Joshi, take it away, gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Rafa. Welcome back, everybody, as we are getting ready for Pick Ban for game number 2. Also, credit to whoever pulled Rebel out of that Mordekaiser ultimate from before. He's looking great right now with the new lighting, so looking fantastic, man. Happy that you invested in that QSS. Joshi, we just heard the desk's thoughts on that game number 1. What do we think about it going into game number 2 while we're waiting for the pickest commands to come up here? Let's start with Maryville side. What do you want to see different coming out of them than what they showed us in game 1?
Honestly, I liked their draft pretty much top to bottom. Every single part of it made sense with the way that they were looking to play. The biggest thing that I think we're really struggling with is, as they called out on the desk, is the fact that the bottom lane was losing, right?
Yeah.
I was saying this is supposed to be a pretty good lane for the Swain and Leona, and we saw that Sketchstreams and Zyko looked really good in that lane, and that was a big opportunity for MU to really pull ahead.
Up until Azog hit level 6, and then he was able to 1v2 them pretty much when he had ultimate up, but as long as you played around that window, AoE were able to, still just get those small incremental advantages. But we also do have different sides this time around, so that will change things up, as Jolly was just saying. Red side 100% win rate on the day.
True.
Very impressive stat right there. Let's see if MU can bring it back with just that alone, or if AoE can wrap us up here with a quick 2-0. A reminder, winner of this series will go on to the round of 8. They get into playoffs. So let's catch up on the bans so far. AoE on the blue side banned away Gwen, Renekton, and Viego. A lot of focus here on these strong solo laners that can also be flexed around, whereas Maryville focusing on Aurelia. Very common ban here on the red side with Xin Zhao and Tristana.
No big surprises coming out right now, except for the fact that AoE is banning both the Gwen and the Viego on the blue side. Oftentimes, at least one of these is going to be a red side ban, but it does leave the Ziggs open, and we've seen Sketchstreams play this a fair amount, so you look upset. I'm gonna be honest.
100% win rate on red side over. AoE win the draft, everybody. The game's done. We don't even need to draft anything else. They got Ziggs.
We got it. We got it. Ziggs coming through. I mean, Ziggs is one of my favorite champions because of his flexibility in the different lanes you can go, but also he allows for really dynamic games because you know at least one of those lanes is going to be locked down, and you can instead rotate between everything else. So you get very dynamic side lanes a lot of the time when you have a Ziggs. So Maryville responding with the Thresh and the Lee Sin, we're already seeing some of that dynamism come through.
Yeah, the Lee Sin can still be flexed around a little bit. We've seen it creep more and more into just a jungle core role recently, though. So, and Odd Orange liked it last time. He looked pretty good on it. The big thing is the Thresh. Thresh has been banned out a lot on this patch. He is getting some nerfs on 11.15, but those haven't come through yet on the current patch 11.14. And he has been a top priority support. You compare with a lot of those things. They could go for the Aphelios themselves now if they really wanted to. Can struggle against that Ziggs range, but the Ziggs will be paired with the Nautilus either way, so engage support. They can also roam around, leave that Ziggs alone. And we do get the Diana again, kind of return to the AP junglers.
The Sylas coming out a little bit early is a bit surprising to me. He does have some good ultimates he can steal from everybody on AoE, to be honest, but it is something that can have a couple of weak early laning phases. It does say to me that they are going to try to push the Ziggs down to Sketchstreams playing it, which makes some sense, right? Because there are ways to punish a Ziggs, but on the other hand, he was probably going to be playing it anyway, right?
Yeah.
This is something that we've seen Sketchstreams play and haven't really seen any play coming out from Darkwings just quite yet.
I like the Ziggs in the bot lane particularly because you just have a better lane to try and push through. It's kind of tough for a Ziggs to push mid and then take plates on it because multiple ways for a jungler to get on top of you. But if you have a support with you warding the river, you can push that bot side pretty easily. So yeah, that means that we will get the counter pick mid here for AoE. Let's see what they want to go for. They're banning away the Aphelios. They're banning away the Jace. But here, Maryville, they're hovering the cliffs. They haven't locked it in yet, but that seems to be what they're looking at.
I like it a lot, right? We already see a very early game-focused team coming in from Maryville. You have a lot of opportunities to be aggressive, and now they also have the Callista, which I've heard a lot of rumblings of really, really good into the Ziggs, just because you can punish it. You look to dive it on wave 3, and unfortunately, Sketch Dreams, without the help from his team, without RBM coming down, there's not a lot of freedom that he has to try and resist it. And I mean, Fiora, very bold pick. If they do go, he just locks it.
Blind.
But Fiora doesn't do a whole lot to try and counteract the dive.
Yeah, and blind is the big thing. Like, you don't know what Maryville's top laner is going to be. They could put the Lee in there if they wanted to, but they could also just pick something that will hard shut down this Fiora in the 1v1. I mean, I guess we'd have to look at Chippy's champ pool. Does he play things like the Jax? Does he play things...
Yeah.
There we go. It's locked in. Yeah, I mean, like, you can hard shut down Fiora if you just have the right champion pool. So now it just comes down to how comfortable does Chippy's feel on this.
This is a classic Chippy's champion, right? He used to play this all the time when he was on Legacy back in Oceania. So I'm excited to see how he's going to be playing this. But the interesting thing coming through is, at least for now, Darkwings is hovering it in the mid lane, going up against Spyrax. So that is, honestly, I kind of like it, right? I was going to make a joke that this isn't Wild Rift. You can't play Fiora in the jungle, but you can play it in the mid lane in specifically this matchup, simply due to how weak Sylas is early game.
Interesting. I guess, yeah, you can also repose those chains. It's a fairly telegraphed ability, so you can try and avoid some of that, and then also you're guaranteed to hit the stun afterwards. All right. I guess we're getting the mid lane Fiora for Darkwings. If we're going to get a player to pilot this champion, Darkwings is the one that I'd want to see on it, although I do believe we saw Faisal pilot a Fiora recently. I'd have to look back and see which tournament it was in. Yeah, but... regardless, some flexibility here on the side of AOE in a very unique draft. They got the Ziggs bot lane. We were excited about that, but suddenly our eyes are now on the Fiora. So if you had to recap here, Joshi, what's AOE trying to do? Like, what is the team identity of this composition, and how are they going to try and play out this early to mid game?
The biggest thing we got to go back to is the dynamism that comes with the Ziggs, right? Because you know that the other team can't do anything about your mid lane, basically ever, after the first couple of turrets start going down. You have a lot of freedom to move everybody else around the map. Faisal, RBM, and Darkwings can split push really effectively. RBM can choose to shadow one of these guys and turn what is normally a 1v1 into a 2v1. Unfortunately for them, Maryville does something very similar in the side lanes. The one thing that they're lacking, though, is an opportunity to really push against Sketch Streams on the Ziggs effectively in the mid lane, so they're a bit more reliant on actually making these side lanes work.
And also, you were highlighting the fact that Callista potentially can shut down the Ziggs, depending on how the lane state goes, if they can dive on that third wave here. So out of Orange, let's see if he decides to path top to bottom and help out in that endeavor, because if you shut down the Ziggs, that really shuts down a lot of AoE's comp wants to do. Because the more I think about it, the more I agree that, yes, the Ziggs kind of creates a different game state than what we're used to. It accelerates the laning phase, oftentimes taking turrets early, and then at that point you just put the Ziggs any lane that has the turrets, so Fiora can just kind of hang out in any lane after that. So we'll see if they can find that game state. AoE on the blue side here, hoping to end the red side win streak on the day. Maryville, though, looking to continue that and get themselves back in this series here, Joshi. We talked already about the AoE side of things, so now let's recap Maryville's game plan here. Is it really just play through bot lane, or do they have other avenues to success?
Oh, they have other avenues. You still have this Jax up in the top lane. You can just have this really big fight later on in the game, and he's just going to be pushing and pushing and pushing and getting stronger and stronger. Spearaxe looking for a stun. Not quite going to find it as he hops over the wall. Very aggressive play, but Zyko standing too far back. So
surprised Shady didn't throw out the death sentence. I mean, you can start Q on Thresh. It's not that bad.
It's not that bad. I think you're really worried about doing that, especially up against a Nautilus, right? Because whenever you wind up your hook, Nautilus can just throw his out, and his is faster, and he does more damage than you.
Sure, fair enough. Now, I guess you don't have vision to see if others were in the area, but regardless, not going to go for it, so Zyko does get away. We do get a ward placed on that tri-bush, and so both bot laners will know that neither one's leashing.
Well, they don't necessarily know where they are, right? They do know that the bot lane's not leashing, but it's not 100% obvious, as you're seeing that Jax is also in the top lane. The bottom lane from Maryville is already showing, so there's not a lot of information for AoE as to where this Lee Sin is starting. You can kind of guess that he's going to the red buff because he does that one quickly and it helps us clear, but he's not necessarily going to need to. He could really be anywhere in a couple minutes.
Chippies is still hanging out in that top rush, wondering what that's going to turn into. Shady flays back Zyko. Good early trade from Azog and Shady here. That's really going to hurt Nautilus's push to level 2, even if they get that early. Probably not going to go in now.
Does need to be very careful, and this is interesting. He's going in mid lane already.
Literally from camp to gank now. Odd Orange, you got to pull this off, though. Otherwise, you're going to be very far behind the Diana in the clear speed. Already a full camp down. Doesn't actually go for it. Ooh, that's not great for Odd Orange here.
It's not great, but he doesn't quite show. As long as he doesn't get spotted up by a ward here, it'll probably be okay. Dark Wings recognizes that Lee Sin is hitting this, but I don't think he actually saw Lee Sin. I think he only saw the Raptors moving, so they don't know how far behind he is just quite yet, is my guess.
Probably assumed he went to Krugs and then down to Raptors.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, let's see what decision Really Big Meme decides to go for there, because he could look to go topside, maybe try and dive jacks, otherwise just take those Krugs away, but he'd have to read that there are Krugs available. At the end of the day, it'll just put Odd Orange back one camp. I really want him to go for it, but now bot side, the double hooks here. Shady gets hit by the Hexplosive charge from Sketch Dreams, and Azog does take a really rough trade right there. Zyko, he trades his health bar for both the enemy AD carry and support.
He's like chugging through a couple of potions right now. Oh, we do get to find out they did not see Lee Sin, so they don't know exactly what his pathing is. They don't know how much time he spent in the mid lane, so they are not going to necessarily know that the Krugs are still available, and that is one of the saving graces coming out for Odd Orange. But one thing, Chippy takes a bunch of damage. As
he's losing out really a lot of CS too. Like, look, that's what, 4, 5 caster minions, 6 caster minions dead. They're all dying.
Yeah, he gets the XP, so that's something. But it is going to be rather rough as, ooh, good attempt from Darkwings to try and predict the stun, but not throwing it out from Spyrax. One of the things I want to pay attention to in this lane with both Ziggs and Nautilus is Callista is the only AD carry where if you slow her movement speed, you also effectively slow her attack speed because of the way it interacts with her passive. And both Nautilus and Ziggs have a lot of slows in their kit, and we're already past that 3-minute mark where we were looking at a potential dive coming out from Maryville because Odd Orange spent so much time in the mid lane that this early lead that I was kind of expecting to see from Azog is not coming out yet.
And that can heavily affect the state of Maryville's early game too here, because it's not just the fact that Callista can't push in, but it's also that Sketch Streams is getting the push. But as we say that, Odd Orange is down now. Oh, I like that. Sketch Streams reading the play, sees the lantern, goes out and says, nope, we are out of here. And now mid lane here, Darkwing's getting a push onto Spyrax. Ooh, he's taking a big trade. Oh, I thought he took a turret shot right there. Spyrax wants it, though. He's going aggressive. Darkwings. Oh, he throws out the parry. Repose has to flash away. Odd Orange goes to the drive-by, doesn't find it.
Does he miss that on purpose? I actually wonder if that was intentional, right? Because he doesn't want to get himself stunned, but a fight down bottom, RBM's here.
Do they just want to push this wave in? RBM will just help them out in that endeavor. Zyko's like a lot of damage from that Death Sentence and Azog combo. So we'll back off. Jungler's not finding successful early ganks.
True, but it is going to be AoE coming out a little bit ahead. Remember the farm differential that we saw coming in from Odd Orange? They know now, because they did see him, that he's a little bit behind where they might expect him to be. And also top lane, Chippies is getting outstatted right now by Faisal Says. We see another fight bottom.
Oh, bot side Zyko could be in some trouble. No, but it's actually Shady. First blood over to Shady. Teleports came through, though. Darkwings is here. Spyrax as well. Azog's got to be careful. He's got the flash. He will flash away. Spyrax looking to disengage, too. Darkwings goes forward. He gets the kill. Also has the Executioner's Call. The Spyrax has less healing, but it doesn't matter.
He has no mana.
Gets a kill. Sketch Streams, no mana. Might flash away, but does not. Just waddles away as Spyrax will take the wave.
Wow, overall, it's just going to be back and forth. Everybody just kind of splitting things on the junglers, now duking out in the mid lane, and we're going to see Odd Orange really come out in a much better position here because he is going to get a slightly larger wave than Iconic will, but this bottom lane, we get to see a lot of things happen here. Remember, like, Zyko can just throw out the hook at the same time Shady does, and he does more damage, so Shady dies first. But the double teleport is going to get interrupted by a fight in the mid lane.
Oh, here we go. Really big meme. Caught out by the Death Sentence. Shady with the roam mid, and Azog going there too. Really well read by MU.
So many people here. Ziggs' bottom lane. Is there a potential dive coming through from Spyrax from the bottom side? No.
Yeah, he's looking for it. He's around the Raptor pit, but I don't think they want to pull the trigger there. Top lane, though, Odd Orange potentially looking for a zone, or at least just backing up. Zyko, oh no, pathing into the jungle blind, and he's got out right there. Spyrex just needs one more auto, he's not gonna find it. Shady takes a turret shot as well. Oh, Zyko looked for it. Now really big meme is here. It's only a level 5 Diana, but he still goes in regardless. Azog gets the kill. Now in a 1v1, 1v2, Sketch streams the flanking Ziggs play. Azog and Spyrex caught on the wrong side of the jungle. Double kill to RBM, but Spyrex, he's healing up massively right now. He can just flash this wall. He goes back in. He's looking for RBM. Flashes in aggressively, trying to get that damage down. Sketch streams. He doesn't have enough to get him first. A shutdown for Spyrex. It's traded, but now 3-1 on the Silas. What a play.
This is why I love Ziggs. This is the kind of games that happen when you have like this immobile mage that's just always wave clearing, right? People have to move around. You are forced to try and make plays on the rest of the map, and that's why Azog and Shady are here. They already find the first kill, and this long extended situation is kind of only still possible because Ziggs doesn't feel safe roaming through this entire thing. He doesn't feel like he can push until he sees the fight is already committed to from the other side, and now AOE can start rotating up the bomb rat, and it becomes this 4v3 and really like back and forth situation where you see the ultimate come through from the Fiora, you see Spyrex have a lot of impact in this fight, and at the end of the day, just the fact that you have the Conqueror, you already have the extra level 6 coming through on the mid lane, and the fact that Ziggs is a skill shot champion, just all culminate here with Spyrex having just enough damage to take down Diana in the 1v2.
And also, tiny little thing there. Shady missed the death sentence on the Zyko. If he had landed that on the initial catch onto Nautilus, would have been a very different play. But now back to live. We do see the Dragon picked up by Maryville University. Gold is even across the board. No turrets taken yet. So that one Dragon really is the only differentiator right now. But we also got to look at who's got gold, who's got kills. Spyrex was the benefactor of a lot off of that play. And that can really start to flip this mid matchup now.
I mean, we say flip, it's a situation where it was always a bit of a skill matchup coming in from Darkwings, and I don't know how much Darkwings plays this in scrims. This is the kind of thing where you just have like this deep tech that you just like say, hey, I want to play this is a good matchup, and you know, this is the opportunity to try things out potentially in order to show that you have to bring out all your tech before going through, because you need to use it in order to make sure you get through at all. So this Fiora coming through is a little bit further behind as we see a fight top lane.
Really big meme, took a long time to take that Rift Herald. Has to go back for it.
Peyton.
And will pay the price. Chippy's chasing him down. Doesn't quite get him. Really big meme's out. Can they go forward with the dive now? It's Faisal all alone here as a set.
Nice.
Goes over the wall. Spyrex has joined in now. Faisal ignited. Taken down. Auto Orange lands a Sonic Wave. Really big meme gets out safely. So Maryville get a kill after the Rift Herald goes over to AOE.
But RBM gets out, and that is rather large. The fact that he has both these buffs still, and he's going to be able to back away and continue to build up a CS lead up against Lee Sin is very, very helpful. But again, notice where Ziggs is relative to all of these fighting. He is nowhere to be seen. He's pushing down in the bottom lane and can get aggressed on by Kalista if Azog ever gets too close. You see that he's already got to chug these potions and waddle away because the rest of the map is so much more dynamic wherever Ziggs isn't.
Let's see if he's able to get his loot-ins right here. If we can take a look at the gold after this replay, of course. Really big. Yeah, see, like, they took it, but nobody picked it up. They had to walk back in.
I think they were trying to give it over to Chippies, right? They were expecting just wait for the Q cooldown to come back up, and it was really, really close. But Chippies tries to get the flash before Diana comes through, but Diana too fast, and this doesn't really result in a whole lot besides the kills going through, right? There's not a ton of CS lost. Azog is able to pick it up in the mid lane and then go bottom lane and pick up most of that wave. So it is mostly just the kill going over in exchange for the Rift Herald, which is a bit of a consolation, ameliorates some of the issues that Maryville just had.
It's more gold into Auto Orange's pocket, though. He was quite far behind. He was a full 1,000 behind Really Big Me based on that early jungle clearing, and RBM did go for the Dark Seal, did upgrade the boots, so that means Auto Orange actually has this Mythic first. Bot
Shady.
side here. Shady could be in some trouble. He does not realize he's walking right into a death brush. Goes golden though. That stopwatch keeping him alive. Now the re-engage comes through here. Odd Orange plus the double TP. Spyrex and Shippy's both jumping in, but Darkwings has joined in too. We got a full 5v5 on the bot side, everybody. And it is scrappy. AOE drop first blood. Zyko picks that one up. Azog's all alone. Nobody's peeling for the Callista. Darkwings flashes forward, but doesn't have the damage.
The slow.
Oh, under the turret. Spyrex is now there. Darkwing's got to play this one very carefully. Low health bar, decides to back off. Only one kill at the end of that. Odd Orange goes down, but here's the Rift Herald. They're looking for a play on the turret.
AOE are the ones with options after the fight ends. The Rift Herald's going to crash, and this is a big timing window right now, King. Is not only do they win the team fight off of that, but they also get this turret as Ziggs pops it with the... Yeah, you can do it, buddy. It's okay. Okay, well, the minions get it anyway, so they're all going to be backing away. Remember, 40 seconds is the last call to get it back in, but they're going to be able to do it before that. They're going to have an opportunity to back away, spend all that gold that they just earned, and come back onto the map. But Shady, you can tell he thinks something's up a little bit and tries to dodge just a little bit of the damage coming through, and he does have the stopwatch, which buys him a lot of time. Unfortunately, the rest of the fight becomes so chaotic, and in these chaotic fights is where characters like the Set, the Diana, and the Fiora really thrive, whereas Callista really trying to just hit people off on the side, but because they put themselves directly into the middle of everybody on AoE, gets chunked out too hard, gives up too much of their own health bar, and ends up having to leave, where the rest of the team is still trying to decide whether or not they want to stick around for the turret. They do, and then they leave after realizing, oh right, they picked up that Herald in the previous fight.
It's just so hard to navigate those kinds of fights because, I mean, if you're on the side of MU, you're like, all right, there's a Set, there's a Diana, there's all these ults that can catch us and reposition us. And also on the side of AoE, you're looking at Spyrex teleporting in there, stealing the Nautilus ult, the Lee Sin and the Jax as well. All these individual threats, not necessarily like front-to-back threats. Very tough to navigate those kinds of plays. But end of the day here, we're back to a fairly neutral position, and we will get another setup for the Dragon.
Darkwings is the top side. He has a teleport, which is big. Chippies and Spyrex just had to use their own teleports in order to get to that fight. And now with the Dragon getting started, it looks like RBM and friends are not going to participate in it. In fact, they're teleporting sketch streams up towards the top side. Let's go. Little Ziggs coming up top in order to do so much damage to this structure. And they just need to get it down far enough. And look at the dynamism. How can you hate Ziggs? He forces so much movement around the map. They get the top lane turret, and it forces Maryville to try and do something in order to get more than just an Infernal Drake off of it.
And they got it before the plates went down. They got, I believe, 2 plates off of that before they expired, and then they got the full turret. So more gold into the pocket of AoE as opposed to fighting for these dragons. It will be a Cloud Soul on the map. MU do have 2 under their belt, but even if they can stack up to that Soul, it's just a Cloud. It's not like it's going to be the end of the world. I feel like Jack's probably the biggest benefactor of that one, maybe the Silas as well. But AoE saying, no, we're just going to use the Ziggs to full effect here, 2, 0, and 3. Also, did not go for the Ludens build, has the Leandri, so a little more DPS in these team fights. Can help out in that department a little more rather than the clear wave clear. But let's see how that plays out as now back into the mid lane here with the outer turrets on the top and bottom side. Yeah, this mid lane is the next focus for sketch streams.
There should be an opportunity for them to be aggressive, right? You do have the Ziggs, and there's not a lot of counter wave clear coming in from Maryville, so AoE can be a bit aggressive here. But the big thing that I want to pay attention to instead of what the Ziggs is doing, because again, he doesn't tend to do a lot on his own, he just enables the rest of the team to be aggressive, is the fact that now we're starting to see Mythics come through, and we have double Gore Drinker available from Faisal and Darkwings. This is a kind of team fight opportunity, right? They're looking to do this in order to be more aggressive during all these melee on melee team fights. Callista is going to be coming in as well, so they're very effective here in order to create a front line for sketch streams instead of necessarily building for a lot of the one-on-ones as we had initially expected.
So let's see if we get another team fight now, because the Rift Herald started up and both teams are posturing around it. Big thing is Darkwings pushing bot side, has teleport still. The split pushing from AoE has just been really brutal for MU to deal with. Shady's also taking a lot of poke right now from sketch streams. You got to be careful here. Yeah, the Mega Inferno bomb. Oh, they just go out of Shady, but now Odd Orange, he gets the pick. Golden goes the carry. Really big meme, trying to stay alive for as long as he can. Shady repositioning, sketch stream still not in there. Spyrex gets a kill onto really big meme. as now AOE pushing towards the top side of the river here. Dark Wings in the 1v2. Chippies takes down Zyko, but he pays for it with his life. Faisal's the front line of the Sketchstreams needs. The Zig's putting out work right now. Azog can't even kill Faisal. Has to retreat right now. Sketchstreams can keep chasing him down. The Zig's hunting right now. Azog's got to be careful. Doesn't have a lot of areas to run away to. Sketchstreams, he's hitting it. He's getting it. Azog, the bird, ace to Sketchstreams. AOE, what a team fight.
What a team fight. They're able to get everything. They're also going to be picking up this Herald, and if Sketchstreams wants to stick around, they'll get the mid lane turret as well. This is huge, a huge gold swing. I was going to say this looked like Dignitas versus Golden Guardians, but now when they're getting everything across the map, suddenly they're looking a whole lot better than Dignitas did. We'll take another look at this. They go very aggressive onto the one person that can get out of all the crowd control, but then Kingus, you know what object permanence is? Object permanence is the reason why babies can play peekaboo, right? When you close up your eyes and they can't see you anymore, they assume you don't exist. And there's a little bit of that going on here for a lot of the members of Maryville. They go out into Fog of War, and then it kind of feels like the members of AOE forget that they're there until they all come back at the same time, and they realize, hey, Faisal, maybe he's playing peekaboo, but he's also this really big, strong dude that we're not going to be able to fight.
And also the fact that Sketchstreams, it felt like once they didn't kill him at the beginning of the fight, nobody was close to that Ziggs for the rest of it. Had a really good job positioning, but now bottom side, MU looking for a play on the Faisal. Good showstopper under the turret. Spyrax in trouble. He's taking turret shots left and right. Almost goes down, plus a Mega Inferno Bomb from Sketchstreams, but he does survive. MU don't even find a clapback play. This is what they're looking for, though, trying to find picks in the side lanes.
That's what they have to do. You can't go to Sketchstreams. You have to bring too many people to make that worth it, and Sketchstreams can play from such a long range away that it's difficult to actually lock yourself down. So instead, we're going to be seeing AOE dropping the Rift Herald in the mid lane, building up more space for themselves, and this will allow their split pushers like Faisal and Dark Wings to be even scarier throughout this entire situation, because they now no longer have to deal with the free information defensive point that the mid lane outer turret provides.
I love seeing that combo. The Rift Herald plus the Ziggs bomb. So clean, so easy to execute
Full
there.
turret.
And AOE putting a lot of emphasis on it, now going for a fight themselves. Zyko engages here onto Shady. Azog pulls him back, and they do not re-engage. Instead, opting for priority on this mid lane, pushing this in. If AOE want to go for this dragon, that means they're losing mid turret for it, as Chippies also takes the top turret. I actually kind of like this from MU. They're just pulling AOE back from the objective.
But it's hard, right? How does MU now walk through Sketchstreams in order to get to the dragon? I guess the answer is, well, Sketchstreams just lets them. So we'll see if Odd Orange can steal.
Odd Orange is in the pit. They're looking for it. MU, they're all here. We got teleports coming in.
Ziggs!
All right, Sketchstreams gets the dragon, but now Chippy's right on top of him. Sketchstreams has no one to peel. And even as I say that, he survives. Really big meme jumping over the wall, and now it's a team fight wipe for AOE. They just got to keep it going right now. Azog's dancing around, but where? The answer is back to base here. Double kill over to Dark Wings. AOE win yet another fight.
Oh my god, Kingus. Look at this Ziggs. 405 at this point. He's doing so much damage. Has gotten so much extra gold, not only from his team fights, but also from these structures. It is so difficult for AOE to do anything. Maryville was, for Maryville to do anything, they were trying to get to the Cloud Soul and potentially force an Elder Dragon, as RBM, I think, walks away.
Yeah, Azog's looking for it. Teleport comes through, too. Really big meme. Oh, with the misplay right there, he will go down. Doesn't even get Azog for it. Just pops the shield bow passive. All right, that's a pickup for MU. Let's see what they can do with it as we look at the replay.
Unfortunately, Chippies just isn't that threatening at this point. He doesn't have the damage to burst out Sketchstreams, and even though he tries to find the stun, there's a lot of people who end up coming back in order to make sure that Ziggs stays alive, because they know they're going to win the rest of the team fight. They have enough threat if Jax isn't there, and because of how weak Spyrax currently is on this Silas, it's a pretty easy, not weak, but the fact that he went down so early in the fight just makes it so easy for the rest of AOE to bully their way through the rest.
I just want to give props right now to the player, the man behind the keyboard here of this Ziggs who's popping off. As Faisal is in some trouble, so we'll back way bot side. But Sketchstreams, the Ziggs player, 405, joined this roster right at the beginning of the summer right now, but he could be caught out here right as I'm trying to talk about. The play is made. He's still running away. They can't get him on. Orange does get the shutdown. Finally, they kill Sketchstreams, but what does it cost them?
At what
Orange
cost?
already down. Shady died too. Azog, no summoner spells. He will fall as well. Another double kill to Darkwings. Sketchstreams, even when he's not carrying the fight, he's still the bait that wins them it.
But is it going to result in more that's coming through? They have a lot of members who are now looking at this. They show where they are by hitting that ward. But let's be real, Maryville already knew. I wonder if they're going to try and do something about it because they have a couple of Brawley champions. Spyrax is relatively strong. Do they want to hop the wall and fight?
3 members here. There's not a lot of DPS on the Baron. The Fior's going for it. The Diana as well. Spyrax there. Whose ultimate is he going to steal? The answer is nobody. They back off. That's Baron over to AOE Esports. Joshi, it looks like it. The red side win streak might just end here. AOE in a dominant position. 22 minutes into this game. 5k up with the Baron. Let's see what they can do with it. As again, Sketchstreams, even though he dies, look at all the space he buys and the time for the team to set up.
That's the big thing. He buys so much time. The locket is there. It comes through, and Darkwings knows that if he can keep Ziggs alive, the rest of the fight's already winning. All he needs to do is try and prevent Ziggs from dying, and from there, it's a rather simple cleanup. AOE had the opportunity to pick up the Baron, and they did so. Now Darkwings finds Spyrax.
MU are getting a little desperate here. They're looking for picks in the enemy jungle, but he's like, oh, that's so much burst. He's almost dead already. Spyrax, he's chasing it down, gonna get the Dark Passage. He's to safety. Shady has to burn ultimate. Odd Orange, meanwhile, 1v1 in Sketchstreams over here by the red
One more
buff.
kill.
He's looking for it. Oh, the Zodias keeping Sketchstreams alive. Depth charge from Zyko. Where you going, Odd Orange? Back to the fountain. Really big meme picks up the kill. Sketchstream survives yet again.
Wow, every single time they're trying to find the Ziggs, but they're just not quite able to. And I was not expecting the game to be revolving around Sketchstreams this hard, but it's part of what happens when you're going to be doing so well in these lanes. They weren't punished in the first couple of levels, and instead they were the ones who really started taking off with their ability to participate from such a long range away in all these fights. And now Darkwings and Faisal have so many tools in order to try and make this split push effective, and I don't know if Shady can even go for this. He doesn't have anybody else near him, and it's just going to be a couple of turrets, at least one, going down in the mid lane, and we know how quickly Ziggs can burst his way through a second.
They're looking for another one for sure. And look at MU. They're sending 3 members bottom side. They are just giving over this inhib to hopefully get a pick on the Darkwings. But Darkwings, he's privy to it. He just backs off. He says, no, I'm not going to be the one that gets picked off in the side lane. I have a 600 gold bounty on my head. That could absolutely get Chippies back into this game. So that's just the inhibitor turret down mid, but they do not push for the inhibitor itself. AoE, they go top
they
side.
see 3
now,
people.
Shady going here onto Darkwings. If he gets hit by this death sentence, he reposts it. Now on
Oh,
Azog,
God.
he's going to take this kill. Oh, Darkwings in the 1v3. He does get shut down, but he makes MU work for it. And with 3 members bot side, this is the base getting shredded here for
guys.
AoE.
Okay, alright, teleport coming through from
Odd
Chippies.
Orange
They
isn't
are going to try and do
spotted.
something.
He's got the Dragon's Rage. Do they want to go for this one here? Spyrax starts off the fight. Now can MU finish it? Odd Orange is in there. Spyrax gets Sketchstreams. The Ziggs is dead. AoE in full retreat now as MU again death sentence onto Zyko. They take down RBM, Sketchstreams, and Darkwings along with Zyko. Everyone's falling except for Faisal. He's the only member left alive for AoE. He's got the Baron buff still, but MU, they did find the play.
And they are going to get the Dragon on top of it. This puts them 1 away from Cloud Soul. Ziggs picking up Dragon 3 earlier, now coming in clutch, because it means that Maryville not going to be having this Cloud Soul, not going to be having the ability to rotate as quickly around. But Darkwings, I mean, pretty bold here for him to actually just turn around and go for Azog. He probably could have just run away due to the fact that he just uses the Q over and over to leave. But turning around and killing the AD carry at this point in the game does buy his team a lot of time. They got the inhibitor turret mid lane, they got the inhibitor top, and the only thing that they need to do is make sure that Sketchstreams can walk out. But look at how they actually play around the Ziggs. He gets knocked up, and then in the middle of all the chaos is the one that Shady finds with the death sentence. And suddenly, with no more DPS available from the rest of the team, all of Maryville has to back away.
Maryville triple kill onto Spyrax, the big benefactor of that fight. There's still 4K in the hole, 4.5 actually. But with that dragon now, they're on soul point. 4 more minutes until that will be a major objective for them. But a minute 50 till Baron. AOE with this gold lead, they can set this up, and they still have the Ziggs to poke from. They still have the split pushing composition. So even though MU found the play, it's still not looking too good for them.
See what they can do. It is a very tough situation because they don't have great primary engage tools. They can steal some by taking ultimates away, particularly from Nautilus, but everything else from Maryville is like secondary. You can get some good pick tools and potentially get a fight started that way. But this is why we're seeing Chippy's pushing this wave out as far as he is, because they know that they need to buy themselves time on the rest of the map if they want to try and go for a fight here.
AOE's looking to crack this bottom inhibitor. They're going to take the turret there. No inhibitor turrets left now for MU. AOE will decide to back off. They got 1 minute until Baron. A reminder, everybody, if AOE wins this, that's it. They're going to the top 8. MU, they need to win this game to stay alive in this best-of-3 series to then win another one. This one on the blue side. So they would have to be the one to end the blue side or the red side win streak. But they do have the inside track of the Baron. Shady is here early, so he's going to drop some wards down. They're going to be spotted, so most likely just clear it out immediately. Although I don't even think that one was. Shady's very far forward right now. He doesn't have any backup from the team. Darkwing's just going to spot him. He has to flash away. Mega Inferno Bomb lands. The blast cone over. No, he doesn't even get it. Darkwings, he finds him and gets the kill. Shady getting picked at the worst conceivable time.
It could not be worse, King is. Man, I wanted to point out and talk about, like, hey, there's time now. Chippies is over 100 CS ahead of his lane opponent. He's becoming really big on this Jax, but when you're just looking at this fight down an entire member, it suddenly becomes incredibly difficult to try and take any of these fights. Sketchstream's on 3 items, has the Horizon focus, so he just does a ton of damage from really far away. And now, Maryville have to try and do something without their primary face checker.
All right, let's see if they can do it right now. Zyko's going to play bodyguard, play goalkeeper here, try and keep Chippies away from the fight. He actually goes for the engage himself. He throws on the depth charge onto Azog. And now the engage, really big beam, almost gets onto him. Flash away from Azog. This is a good positioning so far from MU. They've successfully disengaged the fight and gotten AoE off of the Baron. That's pretty much the best they could ask for while Shady was down. And now he's rejoined, so they got 5 members. Well done from MU. They did have to burn summoner spells from Azog. That's the big cost for this. But they did stop that Baron here. AoE, they could still go back for it, but doesn't look like they will right now. So, man, Joshi, what a game. What a series so far. I've been on the edge of my seat this whole time. And what a matchup between Zyko and Shady, too. We were talking about the fact that, like, oh, Shady's a tough support to get put up against, but he's the one getting picked out here, and it's actually Zyko that's looking pretty clean.
Zyko's been looking good. He's definitely doing his job. He knows how to play the Nautilus Thresh matchup, but now it's crucial that he actually starts landing some of these hooks in all of these fights. We've been noticing, at least I've been noticing, that he's been in the right spot a lot of the times, which is barely coming up short on some of these hooks that can keep these fights going like we just saw in this last fight. So, with a minute left until the Dragon, gotta clear out some of this vision and threaten the Baron one more time. AoE have their teleports available. They're gonna be backing this Fiora away and starting up the Baron at the same time.
Look at Chippies. He's pushing bot lane. He takes it. He has teleport too. He's going to have to
through.
teleport into this play. He goes early.
Teleports.
So does Spyrax. All right, we might get a 5v5, but AoE, they can back off. They're like, all right, we got their teleports. Cool. We still have the split pushing comp. And now we can go for Dragon. MU, they're already on the inside track of that, though. Spyrax gets hit by the bomb. Oh, he has to go golden. Zyko doesn't land the Q. Spyrax has to flash away. That sentence from Shady lands on a Faisal. Now Chippies could be in some trouble here, trying to front line. Darkwing's running forward, but the reposition from MU looking pretty clean right now. Can they stay alive? Can they win this fight here? Really big beam with the 4-man moonfall. Sets it up for AoE, for Faisal to knock him down. Darkwings picks up the shutdown. Faisal on a killing spree, and AoE running away with the team fight. Even Sketchstream's flashing the wall, chasing down Chippies. Wins a shutdown for himself. A massive team fight win for AoE. That might just be game.
Really Big Me was struggling this game for some of it. He wasn't able to find the same kind of fights, but this time at the very end when it counts, he finds the ultimate that he needs to. 4 members all caught up in the ultimate, and now you see Shady trying to do something to cut the wave, but he's just one support man. They don't care. They
He's got
just
it. He's
need
got the
these
wave.
minions, but they got the cannons. They can tank it up.
Azog's up in 10. All right, let's see. The Nexus
It's a good
turrets.
try.
They're going down. Nope, that's it. That's
That's
Nexus. Shady did his best, but the death timers were too long. That is game. That is series, and that is a top 8 run here in front of AOE Esports taking down MU.
This is big. I mean, this is the 3rd time that AOE have gotten out of groups. They've gotten knocked out in quarters both times so far, but this is their opportunity to try and go a little bit farther and earn their auto-qualification spot, whereas Maryville will see them again in the Proving Grounds qualifiers, but that's it for them here at EGL.
Yeah, AOE, we said going into this day, Joshi, no matter who wins, we expect them to be a dark horse to make that run for top 4, be able to take a victory here, even as a 2nd seed against one of the 1st seeds from the other groups, because they have the pedigree, they have the experience. Again, AOE, they've floundered in the round of 8 twice now, but it was against tough opponents each time, and they've got that experience down now, and this is their 3rd time out of group, so let's see if they can ride that momentum forward, but yeah, pretty clean play, and ending that round or red side win streak. Couldn't ask for a better series there. Also ending the night early for us, Joshi.
True.
Pleasure casting.
Thanks for the
with
curse,
you.
Jolly.
yeah, thanks, Jolly. Appreciate that one. This is going to be it from us, though, Joshi, as we send it over to the analyst desk because they're ready to break down that game and close out the show. Always a pleasure, man. Any final thoughts for the group stage from EGL, though? Because we do have playoffs ahead of us already starting tomorrow.
We have some very exciting games that we've already seen throughout. It's been a pleasure bringing all of them to you. Kingus, you and I have one more series here through EGL, and it's been a pleasure every single time watching it. So thank you to all the players so far who have had an opportunity to showcase everything that they've been working on over the past year. Can't wait to see more of you guys during the Proving Grounds qualifiers, and some of you even at Proving Grounds.
All right, we'll bid farewell to the teams that didn't make it into the top 8 as we send it back over to Rafa and the analyst desk to break down what happened in that game and also close out our round robin show. Rafa, take it away.
Thanks, Kangas. And as both you and Joshi said it, we, oh man, you know what? The AOE victory is so powerful, it actually stopped my camera from working there for a second there. So, for AOE, first of all, congratulations, and not only being able to 2-0 Maryville University in the games 2 in a very convincing fashion, but we have to talk about this Fiora mid pick from Mr. Darkwings, because man, this is some dark tech. And Rebel, you mentioned it going into the game. This isn't something that you just pull something out of nowhere. This is something that as an individual, you've prepped a lot of time, but you have to wonder, has AOE gotten a chance to scrim with this before they gave him the green light? And we're wondering, if this was just a confidence a pick here and saying, hey, you know what? Let me pick this right now because and AOE just trusted him fully with this pick.
Yeah, if I had to take a guess, I think that's exactly the case, where it's a confidence thing, where he says, I can take this Fiora, I can dominate this lane phase, and I can run over the game just by being powerful inside, because they needed that counter pick. They had the Jax that was countered into the Fiora as the selection at the bottom, and they say, okay, do you want the set mid lane? Or it's like, okay, no, you take Fiora, you win 2 lanes all of a sudden, because set is a terrific lane into the likes of the Jax, and Fiora is at least comparable to what it is that the Silas was able to bring. You saw that in team fights, you saw it in the laning phase. Darkwings just kind of took over everything, even though sketch streams pulled so much of the attention most of the game.
Just watching this team fight here, and I think the coolest thing as we were watching these fights unfold, Jolly, is that when AOE were able to split up fights into 2 different isolated skirmishes, this is where Darkwings just really shined with that Gore Drinker move as well.
I think Rebel Fox said it right at the very beginning, or maybe it was at this fight in particular, of Fiora's not supposed to team fight. This Fiora was able to, though, because AOE, I mean, you could tell they were going for, they had an idea for their win condition, and they absolutely went for it. They did not let any member of Maryville stand in their way, and they forced out the reactive play that we normally see Maryville force out. And so instead of being proactive like they normally are, they were reacting to the plays that came through, and once that Fiora just got too far, there was nothing that could be done to stop her.
Yeah, this Fiora was absolutely out of control. And even though Spyrex was doing his best to keep up in terms of kills, and not necessarily having the best time in lane, but being able to match Darkwings on the early roams, it got to the point where Maryville University recognized, or AOE recognized that, hey, you know what, if they commit a bunch of members over to Darkwings in the side lane, then it allows us to kind of open up the map, which is something, Rebel, that Maryville University is known for in the past.
Yeah, we talked about it. Usually they're pretty safe with plays like this, but right here, yeah, you see the lapse of vision that caused like this rift here, and they say, okay, we're going to go after Darkwings because Darkwings is too far out. He ends up being brought down and trading as the opposing side of the map is traded. I will say the one thing is it was a very quick response as soon as that this came through, because they were able to force down an inhibitor, but there is no legitimate threat. Despite the fact that they've got Ziggs and Baron, you're still able to slow them down, and then with the flanks that came out, with the Thresh coming in, with the Jax coming in, the fight got forced. This is where I think Maryville actually showed that they had stances, because you had Spyrax was having really good play, Odd Orange was able to find some stuff, these flanks were really nice. This is what gave you hope in this game, because it's okay, Maryville is not out of it. Yes, there are powerful members here on the side of AOE, but it's not like they are just completely winning this with no response whatsoever to come through. They weren't dominating at 10,000 gold. There was still a chance for this squad to come out with a victory, and right here, this is where they got our hopes up, and it's okay, maybe they have strikes to come back with.
Yeah, Maryville University seemingly found a crack through the window here, potentially being able to bring us to a Game 3. But then all that came crashing down, Jolly, as around the 29-minute mark, that is where the last fight came to fruition here in favor of AOE, because they recognized, as Joshin Kang has called it out during the actual game, AOE was more concerned about making sure that Chippy's and Spyrex's TPs were being used up. Once they were burned and they had them right in their sights for this 5-on-5, we see RBM pull out one of the nastiest Diana ults in the summer.
Absolutely, that's coming up here very quickly. And, it's something that we actually kind of touched on at the beginning of this is with AOE being able to have taken that second game, the longer it goes out, generally that helps Maryville. Beautiful Diana ultimate right there. Normally, the longer the game goes out, Maryville has a little bit more control, but again, they were continually forced on proactive play, and this is just another example of that. The fact that the AOE was able to split Maryville up as much as they were really just proves how little proactive play they were able to make. And then as the game went on, you could see as well as much vision as Maryville were putting down, because they were doing an exceptional job of trying to keep vision on all of the objectives coming through in this game. It didn't make a difference, because as soon as AOE decided to engage on a fight, it was happening on their terms, and it was over when they decided it was.
I couldn't have summed it up better myself, Jolly. And it's for Maryville University, we bid you farewell from the rest of the EGL Summer Showdown, hearts. But AOE, first of all, massive congratulations moving on to the playoffs, as AOE are still able to maintain their streak of being able to get into quarterfinals. And, hopefully, especially if you're an AOE Esports fan, you want to make sure that they can break the curse of not making it past quarters. And we'll actually get a chance to see who their potential opponents will be as we review and run through all of the updated group standings for the day. Now, just to keep you guys in mind, Group D is still finalizing their results, as AOE Randoms and Zoos are currently playing their series out. Zoos is currently up 1 game, as they won Game 1, and remember, if AOE Randoms do not get a single game off of Zoos in that series, and it's just a straight 2-0, then Zoos will be able to, then AOE Randoms and Supernova have to play a tiebreaker for the 2nd seed. And, just check Twitter. Make sure you're following the pro players in the amateur scene. We'll try to keep you updated in the Twitter sphere, because unfortunately we'll not be able to cover the series. But in terms of the rest of the bracket, Groups A, B, and C have all played out their matches. So we can give you an idea of what is going to be going down tomorrow for our first quarterfinal matches. We're going to be having Wildcard Red play against Cloud9 Amateur, the Group A first seed taking on the Group B second seed. TSM Amateur taking on EGP, the Group B 1 seed into the Group A second seed, respectively. You have 100X, and then, of course, AOE awaiting their opponents, who will be determined as we see whether it will be Zeus potentially taking on AOE if they are the first seed, or if AOE randoms and supernovas, depending on how well this matchup plays out, maybe it's one of those seeds against 100 Thieves next. Because unless Zoos actually lose the series 2-1, then there is I think there's a potential for AOE randoms to actually be the first seed in that group against, and then Zoos would play against 100X, and AOE randoms would play against AOE, which when it would be Challengers Uprising all over again with the AOE Civil War. And I think the last time we saw AOE fans watch that unfold, it was heartbreaking because it's like, man, you want this team to win, but you also want this team to win. You want them to both do well, and it's so we'll see what happens as that series unfolds. But as we begin to close out our show, I want to go back to you, John Lee, starting with you, and then Rebel after, kind of get final thoughts and things that you're looking forward to in tomorrow's quarterfinal matches.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to so much. Honestly, this is my first time being able to get on this desk in this proving ground, so I'm so stoked to finally get involved with the top 8 here. But honestly, I'm looking forward to the first matchup that we've got. I'm looking forward to actually be able to see wildcard play. I haven't had the opportunity to do that for a while, but as we get further in the bracket, the games just get better and better. So more viewers, more player interest, and more scouting.
2 more teams will be entering the Proving Ground circuit after this one. Then we get into our Tier 1 qualifiers, and then we get to Proving Grounds. Feels like this season is flying by, even though, what has it been, like 2 months? And it just feels like it's flying by day. These teams are improving by the second. You can see that in a bunch of the young teams who have started to climb up. And I'm really excited to see some of the stars of what will be tomorrow, who have been developing extremely well, begin to take on some of the competition that they've got in a tournament like this. I know teams like 100 Thieves Next is one that came out as a surprise, just cleaning everybody inside of that group. And coming out as the #1 seed. I think it's really exciting. I'm also very excited to see C9AM and Wildcard Red in the first round of quarterfinals, because that was our finals from the previous tournament over at Risen. So, like,
there it is.
Knockout bangers all around. Tomorrow's going to be a blast. Rest of the tournament's going to be amazing. Just make sure to keep watching, because Proving Ground's coming up real quick.
Yeah, a Risen Champions Finals rematch in the quarterfinals where, for those that do not remember, it went to a full 5-game series. Cloud9 Amateur almost on the brink of, what was it, almost a reverse sweep, or what were they splitting games back and forth, Rebel? Because I believe you were on that.
It was almost a reverse sweep. Those first 2 games went to wild card, second 2 went to C9, I'm pretty sure is how that went.
Yeah, well, these quarterfinals are best of 3s, if I'm not mistaken. So they don't have the best of 5 luxury this time around for the full 5 games, but Wildcard Red and Cloud9 Amateur is definitely going to deliver as a series and a quarterfinals matchup in itself. But also, all of you pointing out the fact that we have 2 new teams in 100 Thieves Next and TSM Amateur making their playoff debut here in the Proving Grounds circuit here for the summer. I mean, we talked about it before. It's been the rise of the LCS amateur teams during the second half of the Proving Grounds 2021 inaugural year, and it's awesome to see this much development and really kind of the talent growth from these orgs, because these are all players that these orgs took a chance on and invested in. And yeah, the spring results didn't pay out all the way, but they stayed with it. The long con is starting to pay off, and now we get to really see how it unfolds. And we're still waiting to see what the Group D series will result in for 100 Thieves' next final opponent. But for at least TSM Amateur, this is probably going to be the best test that they will have going up against Evil Genius's Prodigies, who were considered the best LCS affiliated amateur team from spring of 2021, sending up Mr. Danny all the way up to the LCS squad for Evil Geniuses, and he's still kicking ass up there. So proud. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on tonight's showing of the EGL Summer Showdown. This concludes groups, as we will move into tomorrow for quarterfinals. Make sure you're checking the Twitter sphere, as someone, either from Zoos or from AOE Randoms, will keep you posted with the final game score of that series, and then we'll see if there's going to be a tiebreaker from Supernova and them, or if AOE Randoms will just continue to move on as the second seed. Until tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful evening. See you then.